Hello, everyone. A good afternoon to you. Today, we welcome you to the third and final day of the first ever season of Social Samosa Presents Festive Marketing Week. Oh, what an experience it has been. All the things we learned. In case you have missed out on anything, here's a quick recap. Karthik Nagarajan, Chief Content Officer, Wavemaker India, and Head Branded Content Group M India, spoke about the role of content in cultural intervention, showcasing how various brands personalized content as per the TG's demographics to drive home the communication objective. We also had an interesting discussion where creative storytellers such as Azazul Haq, CCO at Mullen Lintas Group, Vikram Pandey, National Creative Director, Leo Burnett, India, and Rahul Matthews, CCO, DDB Mutra, discussed creative framework for brands to crack festive storytelling. They gave many example stories and insights. We even had Gursimran Singh, Head of Brand Strategy and Creative Solutions, Geo Savan, who decoded digital audio advertising from the lens of festive season, giving a view of how brands can best catch this engaged audience. And lastly, we also had Shreyansh Bhandari, co-founder and chief operating officer, Lixel and Flamingo, Atul Shivnani, head of e-commerce and digital, The Body Shop India, Ajay Dhyani, general manager, marketing and e-commerce, Timex Group India Private Limited, and Smita Murarka, Chief Marketing Officer, Corporate and Brands Digital, Duroflex. They spoke about the festive marketing blueprint that brands from various sectors are looking at. And with this, we culminated day two amidst interesting industry insights and audience questions. On this note, I would also like to thank our gifting partners, Tetley Green Tea, White Light Foods, the Man Company, and the Sassy Teaspoon. Thank you very much for your support. Before we begin the sessions for today, here's a quick reminder for all our viewers. You can catch us live on Zoom and also on Social Samosa's Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn pages. You can also be a part of this festive marketing platform by sharing pictures while tuning into the sessions with the hashtag Festive Marketing Week. And don't forget to tag us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Khyati Kawa, and I am delighted to be the host for the first ever season of Festive Marketing Week. And now we commence the first session for today. To discuss festive media blueprint to drive performance, I would like to invite on screen Vishal Chinchankar, CEO, Madison Digital and Madison Alpha, Sujata Dwibedy, Group Trading Director, Amplifi India, dentsu, Sam Thomas, Senior Vice President, Digital OMD, Lala, CEO, Zenith, and Ritesh Rajwani, founder and CEO, Social Samosa Network. A very warm welcome to all of you. Request all our speakers to please join us by switching on their cameras and mics.
Hi, Khyati.
Hello, Sujata. Very warm welcome.
You're the first. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Can I request our other speakers to also join us by switching on their cameras and mic?
Yeah. Hi, Khyati.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. Hitesh, are you also here? Then I'm going to leave the screen over to you for the discussion.
Yes, Khyati, I'm here. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hi. Hello, Vishal, Sujata, Jay, and Sam. Welcome to Social Samosa Festive Marketing Week. It's an honor to have you with us. And this is one session that I've been really looking forward to, given the festive season is that time of the year which is very much driven by media and then supported by obviously other avenues as well. So thank you. Thanks a lot for making our time for this. I'll quickly start the discussion with some context on why I feel that media avenues make or drive the festive season. So I believe, and this is something which I've learned also over the years, that advertising's job essentially is to drive demand and consumption. And given the state we've been in the past 18 months, to drive consumption, media avenues are really key. And with content, essentially, a lot of the decisions happen by gut. But with media, I know there is a lot of finer insights that are needed, a lot of context and the right kind of investments are needed for brands to even drive that kind of consumption. So to start with, Sujata, if you could share your thoughts on how this festive season is looking in terms of media and adverts. What are some of the high spending categories at this point that you foresee?
Thanks. ADEX is something I would love to talk about at this point, because you should see all the media houses in the last 1 month, how much we've all been working, because the categories which were silent for the last 2 years have also woken up. There are categories who come during festive anytime they are advertising, and there are so many newer categories which have come up this festive. It's not funny. If you were to see the ADEX, there's around a double digit growth easily. 20-25% growth is what is trending in these months since August. So it's a very optimistic period, and ADEX is trending great. The categories that we are seeing are the newer categories. Normally, the FMCG players are who would occupy the top 15 advertising normally in the ranking. But this year we have a lot of e-commerce, retail, we have fintech, we have edutech. These are the kind of categories which are coming in the top 15. So you can imagine, things are evolving to a different level. BFSI category is a little subdued, but then the tech fintech is really looking up. So it's a great period, and this period should actually take the entire year ahead of last year.
Great. And Vishal, what are your thoughts on how the festive season is looking for media? Is there anything more to add to what Sujata had shared?
Look, I think she's pretty bang on, and thanks Sujata for spelling that out. I think I'm going to echo a bit of it, what she's just said. ADEX looks very positive. I think it's a heated market. It's an overheated, I wouldn't say overheated, but it's an extremely heated market. I would say demand is really at a great high, coupled with great events which are around the corner, like IPL and World Cup and all that stuff. And on the other hand, your supply is still very, very limited. And this is not applicable only from overall media perspective, but even if you just do a deep dive on digital, I think the story is no different. And obviously, I love to call it as EFGH, are the categories. These are the newborn babies, the new categories. E stands for e-com, edutech, food tech, fintech, gaming, and health tech, and another baby called as Bitcoin. These are like really steaming up, right? So there is enough and more that funding that's happened, enough and more marketing that's going to be, attracting a lot more dollars. Net, I would say the festive is looking bigger and brighter.
Great. Jay, what are your thoughts?
Like probably similar to what Vishal and Sujata have said. I think Vishal was saying it's heated. I think it's extremely heated. It's very, very hot, the festive. I think one of the reasons why I'm saying that is that with IPL being there, with World Cup being there, the kind of money which is getting generated after a lull which we've seen for over the last 2 years, it's amazing. So it's a challenge for advertisers, but I think we are in a good place. And the important thing is that hopefully the trend should continue. Like last year we had seen that post-festive things picked up, and then the second wave hit us, and things got slowed down. But hopefully, if everything remains normal, I think we should have a good sort of trend which is going to pick up. Amongst the category wise, the regular FMCGs, autos are back, and obviously this entire new app-based market which has opened up is doing well. Also, what is happening is that a lot of the categories which we thought have seen a very turbulent times, like the luxury segment, the hotels, travel, those are also coming back. So in all, I think we are all fingers crossed. It seems to be a really good time to be in.
Great. Sam, your opening thoughts?
Yeah, I think I kind of echo with everybody who's given their thoughts. Probably just to add, see, during the pandemic, everybody's been in-house. There's been a lot of online shopping that would have happened, but there's this revenge shopping that could also become a trend during the festives, right? People are waiting to go out and shop. People are waiting to visit the malls. People are waiting to visit brands. So that revenge shopping as a trend would be very significant this festive. That's something that I feel. And so is revenge travel, right? So these are the two more anecdotes that I think I could add along with echoing what others said today.
Great. So, but then in terms of absolute numbers, if you guys have to, like, from your experience on working on the ground for this, in terms of absolute numbers, what is the kind of growth you've seen? I mean, like, or absolute or relative numbers in terms of percentage, what is the kind of growth we've seen in terms of ADEX, and where is that investment going? I mean, within digital also, if you say that digital is growing by a certain percent, where is that investment going in digital avenues? Sam, if you could start, and then we could do the reverse order.
Yeah, so I think the expectation is that, while the ADEX grew at 20% compared to what it was last year, we still feel this quarter is going to be a very bullish quarter for us. And we are expecting, while, Sujata said double-digit growths, yeah, it will be, but I'm, putting my neck out to say almost 35 to 40% growth in ADEX will be seen in this quarter. And in terms of the platforms or the channels that will, be driving this growth, I think social media will drive a major chunk. Online video definitely will drive another major chunk. And because we are talking performance, I also see search driving a major chunk of the growth. So if I have to bifurcate, I would say probably about 29% on social media, another 28% on the online video, and maybe search would contribute to closer to 24% growth.
And Jay, from your perspective?
So the overall ADEX, we are seeing high double-digit growth, definitely. Like Sam said, obviously digital is top of the pie. It'll grow at 30-40%. Within digital, video is one of the top gainers according to us. Commerce is another big one. That's something we are also forcing. These are inorganic elements which have started adding into the digital ADEX. From an overall ADEX, TV is the next one. TV is also growing pretty well. It is also in high double digits. A great thing is that print in this quarter has bounced back. One of the mediums which has been hit extremely badly, but we are seeing print has bounced back during this festive. So the other mediums continue to be a challenge. The cinema, obviously, for obvious reasons, out of home and all these, continue to be a challenge. But if I were to pick the top two, it's digital followed by TV, print making a strong resurgence.
And when you say in digital commerce, you mean Flipkart ads and Amazon ads?
Amazon, yeah. That's the big change which we are seeing.
Great. And Sujata, your thoughts on that?
So like Jai and Sam already said, video is now being used for discovery. Earlier video was just for consumption of content. Now video has become a search medium, right? So video is definitely going to be very big. And within video, OTT and streaming is something that's where I would put my bet on, because that's where we are seeing a huge amount of surge. While connected TV is in a nascent stage, that's growing in a very big way. And by next festive, this year to next year, we would definitely see that it would have taken shape in one of the highest ranking media. And also audio has become very important nowadays. Strangely, we are getting a lot of briefs from the client where they want to do podcast. Audio streaming is also becoming very important. And within all these, somewhere vernacular and language, all that is becoming important, right? So a lot of search is happening in voice. Even in e-commerce, people are looking for things in their own mother tongue. So e-commerce is also becoming a discovery platform. So a lot of things are happening in each of the medium, and it's more of a convergent media where each media is leading to the other media. That's where we are going this year.
Right. And Vishal, what are your thoughts on media avenues which are growing and which are on the rise at this point, apart from the obvious ones which are stated?
Yeah, thanks. Look, this is the irony of being the last to answer because I'm going to echo everything what all these guys have said, right? So I'm not going to be very different. But just over and above all these things, I think one of the new trends. I mean, we've spoken about search, social, OTT. We all know these are all just going to boom. Uh, your your inventory is coming at a premium. Your inventory is sold out. I mean, all these stories we keep hearing. I think one of the big trends is over and above all these things that we've spoken about is also D2C. Like, Google's and Facebook's will remain giants. We live in a duopoly. You have a third giant that's coming up, which is Amazon. So it's going to be a triopoly, and the big nice surprise element is the new age brands which are just born on digital are now experimenting with D2C, which is direct to consumer. And that channel is like really looking very promising. It may be a new trend, but I think that's where even investments are really moving hard. You call it a social commerce, you call it a D2C, whatever, it means the same probably. But I think over and above everything what my dear panelists have spoken about, I think this is one addition that possibly marketeers also need to be a little cognizant of.
So I'll give you a chance to answer a question first now that you mentioned. So I mean, like in my intro also I mentioned that media has to be driven by insights which are more finer, which are not even say delta percent by gut. These insights have to be very fine. And there has to be a good context to these insights while you're looking at media investments. And I think almost all of you echoed the thought that festive campaigns ride on this optimism and joy of festivities. So, what are some of those media consumption insights brands should take note of, according to you? When I say these insights, I know like some of these insights might have been shaped in the past 18 months or so, and then some of these insights would be very, very fixed of sorts. They might not have changed for over the years, and those are insights which probably brands at times miss out on. So media consumption insights which brands should take care of, should take note of while looking at planning for this festive season and even the quarter ahead of it, which is again a very tight quarter, so to say.
So, from an media insights perspective, let me tell you that seems like we're at an endemic and not a pandemic, right? We're almost like closer to an endemic. It's really given this festival is looking very promising, exciting for marketeers, for consumers. Like Sam said, there's going to be a revenge shopping, there's going to be revenge retail, there's going to be revenge food habits changing and all that stuff. Clearly, what's happening is with again the events like the big billion days and the great shopping festival, there's a lot of investments which is getting pumped in there. Marketplaces have become very more powerful, right? So that's one sort of a marketing consumer trend that's really coming around this corner, and this tends to continue. It's not something that's a blip or something. It will just keep continuing. I did speak about from a performance lens again, a D2C or a social commerce, whatever you want to call it. It's a spike. We've seen a spike. I think the new age digital brands will keep looking into this investments. There is a decent and a large amount of investment which also goes into influencers, right? Be it whether it's reels or YouTube channels. There's influencer shopping that's happening. And look at what's happening. Your television time spent has actually come down, and your OTT time spent has gone up. Right? These are some of the largely broad trends that are really coming out, maybe from a media perspective. But that's what the marketeers need to be pretty aware of.
So, Sujata, you have more to add to this?
Honestly, the consumption behavior of media has really changed in the last 2 years. Like Vishal rightly said, video consumption has increased so much. And that's also leading to, the change in the shoppers' behavior. So who are we targeting? The audiences. The audiences have now moved to online shopping. So e-commerce as a platform has become extremely critical. Within e-commerce also, we're seeing that a lot of decisions are being made made by, because some influencer is talking about it in Instagram or some social platform, and that leads to a lot of decisions. That's also something that we are seeing. Also, a lot of flexi payments and, financial transactions are being done, and how easily can it be done? Those are the kind of things we're seeing within the audiences. So whenever we are doing the media insights, we need to really understand the video behavior. Where are these discovering products? What are the kind of searches that's happening? We need to really understand the touch points that our audiences are going to today. So a full funnel strategy is extremely important, so that we kind of capture each and every level of touch point and the channels, and we attribute the correct media for conversions.
Okay, that's nice. Jay, what do you have to add to this?
I'll look at it from 2 points, 2 parts. So one is from a media standpoint. I think what people have mentioned is absolutely right. There is increase in video, there is increase in audio. Even within video, we are seeing short format content becoming very important. Commerce and its data is becoming very important, because now you can really tag to the last mile. You can have a complete attribution model towards that. From a consumer standpoint, there is optimism, but it is cautious. So it's like festivity, everything is there, but people are still cautious. So there is a little change in habit in terms of, like, people want to go to shop, but do they want to have the same experience as before, as in go to the shops, or do they want to do it online? Do they want the same which they get in a retail store? So there is a little, there is a cautiousness. It's not that it's become completely open and all that, while they're optimistic, because things have started changing. So these are the two sort of insights. So from media, lots happening, and from a consumer standpoint, there is a little sense of cautiousness still being there.
And Sam, your thoughts?
See, a couple of media trends that I see would prevail or come about this festive is about, video commerce. While everybody understands, the influx of video consumption and how consumer is now, got into this bandwagon of watching videos, the next level is how brands can drive video commerce. And that's where, the look and feel of the same brand when they walk into a physical store, how if we can replicate that in the online version and make that digital asset, shoppable, then that's a fabulous trend that consumers can latch onto. So video commerce is something that I think would stick on as a trend. Second one, which is in line to what Vishal was saying, was the social commerce, or the unboxing that happens in the social space. So it could be a product, or it could be a brand that comes to the social platform first and does the unboxing. So that's another good way to look at the opportunity this festive season. And probably the third one is the influencer-led commerce initiative. We already know how influencers play a role when it comes to moving brand metrics, but what if we can take a step further and say that now influencers can also drive commerce to a certain extent? So these are the three obvious choices that comes to my mind at this point.
That's interesting. So I get the sense that video commerce, social commerce, even like conventional brands looking at a D2C mode or e-commerce to start selling are some of the trends that you have identified in terms of even media insights. Now, if I have to take a step further and understand two things primarily. One, so given the time we are in, every brand, and I think that usually happens in every festive season, but this festive season, it's all the more important that every brand out there is looking to drive performance and scale. And the kind of insights that most of these brands would have would be more or less similar. So what is an ideal plan you recommend for a brand to drive this performance at scale? What are the kind of media avenues you think should work for a brand across the funnel, whether it is top of the funnel, what kind of avenues should be preferred, mid of the funnel, what kind of avenues should be preferred? and bottom of the funnel, what are the kind of avenues that they should look at? So if you all could share your thoughts on that, and like anyone can give it a start rather than me pointing at someone. So
Okay, maybe I can go first.
yeah.
And so, see, for a brand, I think what they need to understand is who's my consumer, who's my audience, and if any brand can segregate these audiences, very well, that itself is a quick win for them. We always can categorize consumers into probably 2 or 3 buckets. Mainly, let's say bargain hunters. You will always find consumers in this space who are bargain hunters, and they would look at offers, coupons, discounts during the festive. So that's one bucket. Second bucket, I think, is the category hunters. You will always find people who are within the category, but maybe not, selective to a particular brand. They are still looking for offers between brands that are there within the category. And the third one is the brand hunters, who already know that this is the brand that I'm looking for, and this is the product within that brand that I want. So if I could, segregate my audiences into these three, then that itself is a game changer for the brand. Then comes the media choices that each of these consumers that I have bucketed make on their day-to-day digital journey or the consumer journey. And can we then look at a full funnel approach? Okay, now it could again be broken down into 3. So I call it the D framework. So it's desire, deploy, and the last one could be to buy for conversions. So these are the 3 buckets with which you can then select media and then plan your media accordingly. Now you have your impact properties sitting right at the top. Then you have your consideration layers. It could be right from your Facebook to Instagrams to Sujata mentioning how audio is becoming more and more preferred choice today, or it could also mean gaming. And lastly, when it comes to the end of the funnel, you can look at the intended audiences. How can I capture the intended audience? Now that could come from search. YouTube is now becoming a very highly searched platform, so YouTube could become the second most. Then you have Quoras of the world, where people are now going and putting up their questions. So that also could become a good choice for brands considering Quora as a platform, or it could be any other intended platforms where you can drive a lot of your conversions. So this is at least at a superficial level, this is the kind of funnel and the media choices that I would look at for the consumer segmentation that I've done.
That's quite clear, actually. I mean, it makes a lot of sense as well. Jay, you have like from what Sam said, if you want to pick and extend that thought and share some more on the kind of avenues that work across the funnel, and apart from audience segmentation or building cohorts like Sam mentioned, what more should brands look at?
I think Sam's covered it pretty well. What I would just like to add is specifically for the bottom funnel is the layer of data. Today we live in a world where the accessibility of data, specifically again the shopping data, the commerce data, which we get through Amazon, DSPs, etc., is quite useful to us to sort of link that. So that's an important role to play. But otherwise, it also depends on at what stage the brand is. It also depends on who's the TG we are trying to target. So the top funnel is like probably as I would say that it's more mass bombing. That you just like there is a huge audience you're trying to cover, and that's where impact and all these start making a lot of sense. When it comes to the middle is where influencers and all that also start playing a important role, because that's where consideration starts to set in. And at the bottom is what we just spoke about, that there are the regular channels. Video is playing a very important role in the bottom funnel. The commerce data is playing a very important role in that. Also, the thing to remember is that today what has happened is that lot of short format content is being generated from the smaller towns. Like more than 100 million users have come from what we call it as Bharat. the emerging India. So that again becomes a very important sort of an element which is sort of getting added into it. So echo with Sam on the audience bifurcation and all that. The only little different point which I would want to make is that sometimes it's the same consumer. It's at a different stage, so where is the mindset of that consumer? Is he on the top funnel where he's not even aware about the brand, and you need to get him to understand, and the same consumer like 2 months down the line might be at the bottom of the funnel. So it's also trying to target it from that point of view.
Good. Vishal, Sujata, you guys have more to add to this?
I would like to add just 2 cents to what Jay and Sam said, because they pretty much covered the channels, etc. But in the top of the funnel, when we are kind of identifying the audiences, instead of going to basic demographics and interests, which we normally do, what we could also add a layer is look at the shopping behavior of similar audiences, and we could understand and probably go to better and focused channels instead of going to all mass channels. And in the bottom of the funnel, we could look at retargeting in a very big way. So like Jay said, data becomes extremely important today. And through retargeting, through AI, etc., what we could do is we could look at hyper-local targeting, retargeting till the audience converts, because we've got such rich data today available. We exactly know where the audiences are going, what all are they shopping, what all they are looking for. Through the search data, we definitely know what is it that they are searching for. All we need to do is target, retarget and have hyper-local understanding of the audience so that we land up converting, because we're talking about a festive period. It is a short period, and this data will only help us in the next festivals, right? Because it's a fixed period every year for India.
True. And Vishal?
Sure. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a slightly different side of this entire conversation, and I completely agree with Sam, Jay, Sujata, the bottom of the funnel, the data strategies, the shopaholic behaviors, all these stuff largely. But what I strongly believe is that performance marketing is a subset of how your top of the funnel is growing. If you can actually grow your top of the funnel and make sure that you fix all the leakages and the frictions in the middle of the funnel, driving bottom of the funnel at a scale is not a challenge. Because at every level of the funnels, you will keep finding consumers. The more you widen the top of the funnel is where you'll build the performance at scale. So that's one. Point number 2, when you talk top of the funnel, I don't think marketeers needs to see it in isolation of digital and TV and print and nothing. It needs to be integrated stuff. So you do TV, but you add YouTube or you add your OTTs and all that videos and build a TV plus. That gives you an incremental reach. That gives you an incremental frequency. That's what's helping you building the top of the funnel. You have your elements at the middle of the funnel, be it whether it's influencer, content marketing, whatever, social media. And then you have all your right elements at the bottom, right? But you open up the funnel at the top, and your performance marketing at scale purely becomes big. I mean, that's just a different angle, a different perspective that I wanted to add to this conversation.
So I think in the past, Vishal, we've spoken about this. I think when I was setting an agenda for one of the events, and I remember you had mentioned about how there is a problem in the industry in terms of attribution. And I think something which Jay and Sujata also mentioned about how digital has enabled last mile attribution, but then still the MMM model that most of the planning fraternity follows still has a lot to refine. So how, like, given the current landscape, you think that the attribution model at this point, the way brands look at it, or even the way planners look at it, is completely flawless, or you see that there is more scope for equations like the one you mentioned, that while you're planning top of the funnel, you don't just look at digital, you look at other media, and you start looking at each media for their strength. So, like, what are your thoughts on attribution models that are being followed so far, and what is it that we as an industry should be looking at moving forward? And that is something I think everyone would have opinion to add on, but we could start with you, Vishal.
Thanks, Ritesh. So look, I think the biggest concern in the industry, and I'm now looking at it more from an integrated perspective, is that there is no single currency, be it whether it's television or print, right? You have a bark, and there is no bark in digital. The eCam is not taking birth so soon, right? Then your input output matching becomes a little difficult. Having said that, every agency would have had their own probabilistic way of measuring, and you sort of come out with a right attribution model. But when you look at the bottom of the funnel, again, it gets into a spread of attribution. There's a last click attribution, there's a first click attribution, there's a linear attribution, there's a time decay or half-life based attribution, or it could be a data-driven attribution, depending on what the consumer has bought in the past and all that stuff. I think what's really important is to understand the view-through journey of the consumer. The moment you understand the view-through journey of the consumer, then it's relatively not as difficult as you may say to attribute what channel is really spiking and working well for you.
Sujata, your thoughts?
So thankfully, we have a tool wherein we have integrated Bark and a lot of the APIs from Google, Facebook, and many more such channel partners. So that really helps us attribute TV plus video very well. However, it remains a challenge in the industry to look at what kind of attribution model. Traditionally, we've been doing MMM, but here the touch points have become so many now, and which is leading to conversion is, which all are leading to conversion. It's not one, the first one or the last one, or it depends on category to category. So that nuances of this category is also very important. If it's a B2B category, it could be a time decay attribution, wherein, with each touch point, there is a decay and delayed purchase. And then there are, so many which during festive, they come and go. So normally what happens is it's a position-based attribution, which in the industry we go with, wherein, each of the touch point has some kind of attribution, but the first and the last have got higher weightage. And this is how we've been working towards it. But yes, we have a long way to go when it comes to attribution modeling. A lot of, the research agencies are working on it with us, with various agencies, but we need to go a long way when it comes to attribution modeling.
Got it. And Jay, like what Sujata said, that there is a tool in place for their agency, or Vishal mentioned the lack of a one single currency or a one metric to follow. So what are your thoughts on attribution, on the state of attribution at this point? And is there a solution that you see from your perspective?
Definitely. This for us, it's the bedrock of what we do. That's what basically Zenith stands for. We are a ROI agency, and so the entire philosophy, the entire thing is on the back of the attribution. And I could just go on and on this. But what I would like to do is I would just like to probably put in some 2-3 points. One is that what we try and do is get the belief of the clients. So when we want to propose something, when we want to discuss something, it's very important for the clients to believe in that. See, it's never going to be 100%, because like Vishal said, like Sujata said, that the data is not consolidated in India. So we have very different touch points of all kinds of data. So there has to be certain amount of belief, saying that, okay, this is 70% right, this is 80% right, and we could take decisions basis what we do. So that's something which is the first step according to me. The second step is that, today while there is data fragmentation, but there is also a lot of data available. And what we've been able to do is that, there is something what we call it as a multi-touch point attribution. And this is like, because every impression either generated from digital or from print or from TV or whatever is affecting the consumer in a certain way. It's not a free impression. It's not a waste impression. So today, let's assume that there is a company where, all the sales are happening through the website, or it's happening through the stores. TV might not get in direct sales, but it might be getting in people to come to the website. People might be coming to the store. Similarly for print, similarly for digital. So it's important to understand this entire thing, and it would differ. It would vary from client to client. It's not that it will follow the same pattern. It would vary from client to client. So as I said, it's absolutely important. And I think what we are like at one point, there is a challenge in terms of data syndication, but at the other end, there is lots of data which is available. And we've just stressed upon this point in our earlier conversations that commerce data is available, and today basis that now I can have the last mile also done. So it is no longer the intent or no longer the share which I'm talking about, but it is also the last mile which is there. So I think we are in a good space, and knowingly, unknowingly, every client is doing this. I don't know about, like, it's probably a little challenging for FMCG clients or for clients who are in the traditional set of business, but the new app-based clients, I think they're doing that. They're completely into this business because that's what they are using media for. So I think we've come a long way, and yes, there is a lot of work to be done, but we are in a good space.
Sam?
See, I think there are a lot of challenges, but at the same point, a lot of the brands and a lot of our agency world, we've moved. We've taken the big steps forward. It's only about coming to a consensus to say what that common currency could be. Now, having said that, multi-touch attribution is probably that attribution methodology today which can come closer to the truth, but not the truth yet. It also depends on how brands would like to measure things. What's the infrastructure that the brand is working with, and how would you want to put the measurement metrics in play? So while the new age brands would have the right infrastructure, but there are some legacy brands where we see that sometimes the right infrastructure is not in place, and hence it becomes a little difficult for us to measure and put the right measurement metrics in play. So these are some of the challenges that are still relevant for all of us, and we have to work our way out. And also at the same point, or in the same breath, I also want to say the fact that publishers or partners, they are trying to create their own wall gardens. Now, breaking these wall gardens is not that easy, right? How much ever agile you want to be, understanding data from one partner, trying to marry it with other data sources or other data partners is that much more difficult. So data, people who are trying to get insights can only get as much insights that they can churn out. So that siloed, system will still remain till the time the platforms want to remain isolated and walled to a larger extent. So the moment we can break these wall gardens, it's that much more easier for us to put the right measurements.
I agree, and I think we need that one common analytics currency also, so to say, because at this point you have bigger platforms, but not all these publishers or even platforms use that particular currency. And like, if there is one common dashboard, like a one metric which Vishal was saying, or one common dashboard, then a lot of that problem gets solved. So I think, like, I've had a good time chatting with you guys. We could just wrap up the session with one closing thought from you all on how, like, which is the title of the session as well, on how brands can maximize outcomes this festive season. Your word of advice, it could be a strategic insight, it could also be a platform that they might be missing on, or it can be anything else apart from this. So Sam, you could start and we could end it with Vishal's thing.
Sure. So I think brands today are sitting with a lot of data themselves. If they can just maybe pause for a moment, go back and understand what kind of data they are sitting with, what kind of cookie pool they are sitting with, that itself will generate a lot of insights, and that itself will give them the scale that they need to drive the business outcomes that they are looking for. A great way of working could be, you have your search cookies, the intended audience who have already come to your website. You can easily tie those cookie pool into your programmatic, campaign. And rather than sitting and doing fresh set of prospecting audiences, you could do prospecting basis this intended cookies that is already come to your website. So that could be a good starting point for you to drive conversions. Now, it also means it also takes time to understand which platforms are working well for you. What works well for me as a brand might not be working well for maybe A as a brand or another brand, right? So you'll have to figure out and find the right mix of what is converting or what is working well for you as a brand. Yeah. So these are some of the pointers. Probably others will kind of add on to this. Yeah.
Okay.
See, for me, I'm saying like Sam was saying, there are a lot of things which we need to do depending on the brand. But my one line of advice would be start early. Consumers are into the festive in market way before the brands are getting in. So they are already thinking about the purchase. Today, if I want to buy a motorcycle or a fridge or anything like that, I'm not waiting for Dhamdhere to actually do that. Dhamdhere is the period when I'm actually buying it, but I've already thought about it 2 to 3 weeks ago. So I think that's the key. And there isn't a single brand which is not sort of alive during the festive season. And therefore, to be top of mind, it's better to start early. So when the festivity kicks in, your awareness is at its peak. So that's my one line of advice: start early.
Right. Sujata?
I would say that, we need to think beyond the obvious. So during festivities, it is not only important to start early, but when you are there, each of the touch points have to talk to each other. It can't be in isolation. And each of the touch points do, definitely interact with the audiences, and they lead to some kind of conversion or lead to final purchase. So it is extremely important that everything is married and they talk about the same story for the brand. It's extremely critical. And it's also important to end well, so once the entire festivity is over, it is important to look back and evaluate and reevaluate so that, you have some lessons for next year as well.
Vishal?
Yeah. Single advice in single line: don't look at media in isolation. Look at our integrated media solution. The formula is simple: 1 plus 1 is equal to 3 and not 2. So when you add two mediums, you get an impact of third medium. That's it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot. I think this was really insightful. I've got a lot of pointers to work on for Social Samosa as well from this, though we are not that heavy on media spends, but then there is a lot of clarity that I've got after this conversation. And I'm sure the audience would also think that way. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ritesh. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our speakers. This session answered many questions we had around the nitty-gritties of media planning for the festive season. I once again encourage all our viewers to send in those questions so that our speakers can take them during the session. Next up, we have on our lineup today an interesting fireside chat. I would like to invite on screen Mansi Datta, Chief Client Officer and Head North and East Wavemaker India, as she gets in conversation with Ritesh Sood, Associate Director Marketing, Perfetti VMLY&R. A very warm welcome to both of you. Mansi, I'd request you to please unmute yourself.
Okay, I think if I got a rupee for every time I did that, I would be quite rich.
We all would. Welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good afternoon, Khyati. A warm welcome to all the viewers. Hi, Ritesh.
Hi, Mansi. Hi, Kathy.
Great. Thanks, Ritesh, for joining us. And actually gives me great pleasure to be, hosting this fireside chat with you. Ritesh, as you know, is a seasoned marketing professional with almost 15 years of experience in building brands. And you've been with Perfetti for almost a decade. So you're in the extremely exciting confectionery category. I must say that India is also the largest confectionery market. And with India known as the Temple of Youth, you guys have just a huge run out here in this market. And you work in some extremely exciting brands, absolutely lip-smacking brands. So Alpenliebe, Just Jelly, Center Fruit, Happy Dent, and, so absolutely very innovative brands. You're actually at the threshold of innovation and you do a lot of stuff around that. So I'd just like to ask you a few questions as to your entire journey on this entire exciting marketing journey with respect to this entire portfolio. So, with Perfetti being in this extremely with a very prominent player, almost about 1/4 of the market share in the confectionery market, and growing, as we said, at a very healthy rate, in operating in a category which is the largest in the world. Um, and owning extremely iconic brands like Center Fresh, Chupa Chups, Happy Dent, Alpenlebe, as I said, mentors. Um, you do talk about, and you've got these entire consumption moments and spaces which you've attributed to a lot of these brands. So whether it's either refreshing break or mood upliftment or a sweet indulgence, but we do acknowledge that a lot of competition also operates within the same space, right? And it is an extremely impulsive category. Um, what are the challenges, or what is Perfetti's strategy, which is going to drive that next phase of growth, and especially with the lens of how what panned out in the last 2 years. I think I've kind of, given you a really tough and a very macro question to answer. But yeah, we're absolutely keen to know that, given the fact that it's an extremely impulsive, competitive category, given that it is a very fast-paced, moving category as well, what are the challenges, or what is your growth phase looking like?
Thank you, Mansi. It's a pleasure to be here today. Yes, you are right. We operate in a highly impulse category, which is very cluttered and price sensitive. They're organized. There's a big organized sector and there's a large unorganized sector too. But to our credit, we have a portfolio of iconic brands, as you rightly mentioned, like Center Food, Center Fresh, Chupa Chups, to name a few. And hence, while creativity plays a lot of role, and that's what we are also known for. But it's something that we work on from a marketing standpoint. Also looking at from a media lens, if you were to look at things from a media lens, apart from it is important to have, while we have a great portfolio, it is also important to be the number one choice for our consumers. So as you mentioned, last 2 years have been tough, have been dynamic in nature. And so we have also tried to evolve as times go. So while at the center of the marketing piece, there's creativity, we have also tried to evolve as our consumers have been evolving to understand how to reach them better and where to reach them. So if I were to take the how part first, traditionally you've been a media powerhouse. We've been investing more in making advertising and using the traditional approach of advertising, and that still takes a bulk of our monies to build awareness. But it is increasingly becoming important, especially with the evolving media landscape, to meaningfully engage with our consumers and to look beyond the traditional mechanisms of reaching out to them. So while there's television advertising, social media platforms have been becoming important in the last few years. We are increasingly now looking at other avenues to reach out to them in terms of, for example, gaming. Second, then there's content development, and content marketing is becoming an important part of our marketing mix. This was helping us. I'll also share a couple of examples going forward, but this is helping us target audiences and engaging them in a more meaningful manner. Now, this was the how part, and in terms of the where part, as the media landscape has been evolving, it is important to follow our consumers. Post the pandemic, we've seen the emergence of OTT platforms. Digital has grown up exponentially. So we also are using various tools that we have with our partners in terms of taking an integrated media approach and basically following our consumers and trying to deliver and play a more meaningful role in their lives.
Ritesh, it's interesting to hear you say this, and you've talked about the integrated marketing approach and going beyond traditional media and going into the spheres of gaming, of in-content integration, of advocacy, of influencers. Most marketers, I feel, kind of do pride themselves in having a very laser focus on themes around reach, audience, return on investment. And sometimes when we talk about going beyond traditional media and into this entire sphere of content, in content, partnerships, associations, or IP creations, or even gaming or influencers, um, does this entire content marketing bit get dropped off from the spectrum, or how do you kind of do that balancing act? And what's your what's your articulation on the same?
Nice question, Mansi. I can understand that it's important to look at reach, audience, and ROI, but it is also important to take a longer term view. And it's important how do we engage our consumers in a more meaningful manner, especially in an impulse category like ours, where there are, because of the price points that we operate in, there are challenges like to building in terms of building brand loyalty and making consumer purchases more planned. As I spoke about earlier about the funnel, apart from building awareness, it is also important to look at building consideration and, in fact, looking at the entire consumer funnel journey. So, apart from traditional ways of advertising, we are extensively looking at content development, gaming, influencers, as I spoke earlier. So, in fact, the share of the television is been decreasing over the years gradually. In fact, if you look specific in the last 1 year, with a couple of things, tie-ups that we've done, especially in the content space, that we are actually very happy about. To give an example, our largest gum brand is Center Fruit, and it operates in the cheer me up demand space. Now, comedy as a genre goes very well with the mood upliftment positioning which the brand has. So what we did this year is we partnered with MTV, for example, for a co-branded talent hunt, comedy talent hunt called MTV Center Fruit Comedy Based Camp. Now, so it's a completely content-based, a scale of something which we did for the first time. So what this platform does provide is provided consumers to send in their entries and get a chance to be one of the 20 shortlisted candidates who then performed. The show was hosted by Cyrus Barocha, and in fact, it's currently on air. So, and at the end of the show, we have 5 winners who now will get a chance of a lifetime to trek up to Mount Everest Base Camp in Nepal next year and perform live there. So these are experiences, which money can't buy for consumers. So I mean, and this is not traditional way of that we had been approaching, but so content is becoming an important piece of the overall pie. And not only Center Fruit, there are multiple other initiatives that we've taken this year, be it case of Center Fresh, where they too also tied up with MTV for a rap song around the Fresh Breath Day, which is celebrated on 6th of August. For one of our other brands, Alpenliebe Shejale, we've had a similar big tie-up. So content is becoming important in terms of the whole mix.
So interestingly, you talked about for Center Fruit and with the Cheer Me Up, with operating in the entire demand space of Cheer Me Up, and doing a comedy based camp at Mount Everest. Amazing, absolutely. So when you talked about demand space and where that Perfetti restaged its entire brand portfolio, right, and your entire lineup of reconfigured your entire lineup of candies and chewing gums to fill that entire demand space. So either it be a need for refreshing break or for mood upliftment. So, how do these demand spaces work as pegs for you for basically going forward in terms of content partnerships, or does it streamline your thought? And what is that advantage that you see that this entire philosophy then, or this entire marketing segregation in terms of demand spaces that helps you? Because it certainly looks like you've got a very streamlined sort of a thinking and you know what space to operate on, because again, content can go into various directions, and it's extremely important to have a very streamlined thought and as to how to take the entire brand journey forward. And you also talked about the entire funnel approach. So how do you move from just awareness and move into the entire consideration, engagement, and brand advocates? And what is the consistent talk that you do?
So Mansi, we have a portfolio of power brands with brands like Center Fresh, Center Fruit, Alpalibe, Just Jelly, Happy Dent, and Mentos, to name a few. In fact, there's also a global brand, Chupa. And many of them, considering we operate only in the confectionery space, many of them also play in the same sub-segment. For example, Center Fruit and Center Fresh both play in the gum segment. And yet they cater to different consumer needs. Hence, it's important to assign each of our brands a purposeful role basis the needs they satisfy. So we did this entire exercise like a few years back to differentiate and position each brand as per the role that they play in the lives of the consumers, depending on the consumption occasions. So, for example, if there's a need for freshness, the consumer will probably buy Center Fresh, and if there's a need for to change the mood or change the taste, probably he'll be going for a fruity flavor like Center Fruit. So Center Fresh, operates in the refreshing, as you rightly mentioned, the refreshing break with friends demand space, whereas Center Fruit plays in the cheer me up demand space. And this entire work that I'm talking about is basically the extensive consumer work that we've been doing over the years. So what we've done is we've clearly defined the role of each brand in our portfolio. This is the roles that they play in the consumer's life. And then whatever we do, once the role is defined, then whatever we do, be it communication, product development, digital campaigns, or activations, everything happens around the same demand space. So in a nutshell, the demand space that the brand operates in is the central philosophy around which brands operate for a consistent consumer experience. Just to give you an example, our flagship brand Center Fresh operates in the refreshing break with friends demand space, and its positioning is articulated in the tagline "Tazi Saans Rakho Hamesha Apne Paas." Over the last few years, we've launched multiple product formats under Center Fresh, be it Center Fresh Mints or Center Fresh 3-layer gum, or the latest innovation, which is the 60 minutes clean breath proposition. While these are different formats, they all have the consistent fresh breath experience in terms of functional benefits for the consumer. However, each of these propositions also caters to a different, occasion, and accordingly delivers the intensity and the experience, the freshness experience to the consumer. If you were to also, and considering most of these formats are also supported on air or on various mediums, while they could be, each of these formats would have a different communication tailored to those consumption occasions, but the overall umbrella thought will be around the demand space. So that's how, so in a nutshell, the demand space that we have allocated for each of our brands is the guiding philosophy for that brand, and whatever we do is around that then.
So basically, as you said, in a nutshell, these consumption movements and these occasions that basically demand spaces lets you identify, also lets you basically create a strong brand differentiation, and obviously drives consumers, kids, young adults towards a desired behavior, and you are turning them into loyal brand advocates. I know that you have a case study of actually really loyal brand advocates, and I'd like you to share that with us. It's an extremely interesting one. So, and I think there's a backstory to it as well. So.
Yes, you are right, Mansi, and maybe I can talk about the Alpenliebe Just Jelly recipe camping journey. Traditionally, jellies have been part of our lives as kids. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have jelly with custard. And, this is the brand that we launched sometime in 2012-13. And we realized that since it is made up of 25% fruit pulp, its soft texture allows it to be used as an ingredient in homemade recipes. And thus, actually, it helps us bring alive the brand's positioning of family fun in the lives of the consumer. So while we initially started this journey sometime in 2014, we really put our might behind it in the last 3 years. And since the launch of this campaign, have worked with nearly all the leading India chefs to build awareness about among consumers about using Alpenliebe Just Jelly as an ingredient in home recipes. What this does is helps us differentiate our brand from competition, and also helps the brand play a more meaningful role in the lives of our consumers. Actually, these consumers can buy Just Jelly, use it in home recipes, and bring alive the brand's proposition, brand's positioning of family fun at home. And especially, I mean, if you look at the last 2 years, I mean, when families are at home, this was in fact the perfect opportunity where people have actually been using it and sharing their pictures and recipes with us. Also, India is a land of festivals, and we've also been leveraging them extensively to run consumer contests. And as mentioned, I've been really happy to see the encouraging participation that we've seen from our consumers. Till now, we were primarily focused on the digital platform. So to take the things forward, what we did, we recently tied up with Z TV. In fact, Z platform, Z Studios. There's a Z and there's also a digital leg to it. And we launched India's first baking talent hunt. So it's called Alpenliebe Just Jelly Baker's Studio. It's again a talent hunt wherein we invited consumers to share in their baking recipes and to show how good they are. And the top 15 shortlisted contestants get to participate in a cook-off contest. And at the end of the day, we have 5 winners. And so this is something that will soon go live sometime next month. The initial part has already happened. So at the end of the day, apart from getting rewarded, they also become Alpenliebe Just Jelly chef ambassadors for a period of 1 year, thereby becoming brand advocates. So this is another good example of why content marketing is becoming important for us, and it's beyond the traditional mediums.
I can just imagine families bonding during all of this, and especially it's like a dream come true. Jellies is something that all kids associate with, and you said you used to have it while as a kid with custard, and I totally a strong visual comes to my mind. And it's almost like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You're in the land of jellies, and it couldn't get better than that. And if you're talking about a baking program with all jellies concerned, it's absolutely going to be phenomenal. And I believe you have some great names also supporting you. I think you have Ranveer and Amrita Raichan,
yes,
the anchors, and their names by themselves, and they would just be kind of. I think it's they would be just killing it. I think in the entire baking sphere, they're the gods of baking as we know them. If for a child to be exposed to that, so does it really, and all of these programs, all of these initiatives that you're talking about, for example, I can just imagine a kid kind of putting jelly into his milkshake and then making like a jelly milkshake, right? Do they become, and when they do participate, and you do solicit a lot of participation, does that journey itself create some brand advocates for you? We're not talking about we reaching out to brand ambassadors, but in this entire journey of crowdsourcing or to these participants, and further on, is there a nuclear fusion effect? Do they also become brand ambassadors or brand advocates for you?
Yes, Mansi, you're right. In fact, as I mentioned, we've been supporting this program digitally for a couple of years. For a couple of years now, and we keep doing various contests. But even what we've noticed is that even when we are not doing a particular contest is live, we do keep getting entries. And there's something that we also do is measure. We keep measuring the impact and the result of what we are doing. For example, the recipe campaign that I spoke about. So, for example, in our brand track, we keep monitoring as to what percentage of consumers are actually using Alpenliebe Just Jelly as an ingredient in home recipes. And we've been pleasantly surprised. The number is in double digits. And so, and the good part is that when a consumer uses Alpenliebe Just Jelly as an ingredient in home recipes, he or she will not use one piece. Which means, for example, if the number is 10%, the actual contribution to sales will be much higher.
Right. Oh, that's a really smart move by the team there. Basically, to not just increase the number of people, but also the entire volume of consumption at that particular moment of time. So I think the entire growth model of 4 V's, volume and value, both kind of increasing out here with your smart strategy. And it's interesting that you're talking about measurement, because most marketers, the common refrain is that, measurement is one angle, which how do you measure these content activities? How do you measure the entire efficacy of it? What is a brand health outcome? Is there a sales lift because of these activities? Is it something which is too niche and it's not equivalent to the reach that mass media would give? Would content integration give us that entire fillip, and is it really worthwhile to do so? Any thoughts on these? Because as you said, it's almost like a full funnel strategy. It's not just about awareness, but it is about creating consideration and then further on increasing your entire brand love and creating brand advocates. So does it give you that critical mass for you to go into that entire um, funnel?
Nice question again, Mansi. And in fact, it is very important to measure because all these partnerships, they cost a good amount of money. And it is important that as we get aggressive with content marketing, and especially with these big ticket partnerships, we keep monitoring the impact. I'll just give an example. So demand space is all about occasions, and Center Fresh, as I mentioned earlier, operates in the refreshing break with friends demand space. Hence this year, for brand Center Fresh, we celebrated a Fresh Breath Day on 6th of August through a full campaign, which also included partnership with MTV for a rap song with one of India's leading singing sensations. At the end of the campaign, we did a survey to find out what percentage of consumers were aware of the day, because it was an occasion we wanted to own, and which brand did they associated it with. We're happy to share, for example, that 49% of the respondents in that survey actually could recall the correct date when the activity happened, which is 6th of August. And 59% of those who responded correctly did associate the day with Center Fresh. So, these associations are important for us. We have been, for example, this year, we also celebrated World Lollipop Day. We celebrated Fresh Breath Day. And we keep on looking at such opportunities as and when they come to build stronger associations with our consumers.
Right. Which is this is definitely very heartwarming to hear, because Ritesh, actually, I do have his favorite quote, which says, if Vidya Balan said entertainment, that is cinema is all about, I think marketing is all about measurement, right? So without measurement, that's where the ball drops. And it's great to see that Perfetti is kind of, putting in strong systems of measurement so that we can, attribute the entire strength of what it does to the entire brand.
You're right. At the end of the day, it's all about results.
Right, right. One last question, which is that in your own personal, in your entire marketing journey, what has been that entire bold go-to move that you've done?
Okay, I've been with Perfetti for around 11 years now, and I've been part of many memorable campaigns, which I consider a privilege. But one which is closest to my heart is the Alpenliebe Chili recipe campaign, as the idea of putting Alpenliebe Chili, in recipes actually came to my mind while parking my car sometime in 2013 when I had just joined the marketing team. I remember I then experimented a bit with one of my friends who had then participated in MasterChef Season 1. And he liked the idea and he introduced me to Chef Ajay Chopra, who then was actually a judge for the Season 1 MasterChef then. And then Ajay experimented a bit and held a tasting session for us in Mumbai. And that was the starting point of this long journey. Initially, we took some baby steps to launch recipes on pack. Ajay had developed a few around 25, 30 recipes, and which we put on consumer packs to build awareness among consumers. We partnered with Baskin Robbins then for a co-branded ice cream. We also partnered with Barista to launch co-branded shakes. Then sometime, then this continued till I think 2015, 16. Then I also took on some new responsibility. And once I got the brand back sometime in 2018, we restarted our journey, and now in a big way, we're heavily invested into it. And really looking back, happy to see that the parking lot idea has come to life.
So I can, wow. So actually, great thoughts come out of great musings.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
uh,
I firmly believe that no one can be more passionate than the brand custodians, and the best ideas typically come from there. And I've seen it throughout my career that the brand team members typically come up with some of the best ideas.
that's really, yeah, that is heartening to hear. So, if I were to sum up this entire discussion, and it's been a really insightful discussion, which is that you've talked about the fact that we are looking at just we're looking at the entire consumer journey. It is not about just going in for awareness, but how do you basically go in for operating during the entire consumer journey. So how do you go from building awareness to having a strong consideration to creating absolute brand love and going towards having strong brand advocates for yourself. Especially extremely important in an impulsive category wherein you need to build strong brand differentiation and uh, and the importance of having a guiding philosophy. So this entire work that Perfetti does in this entire space of demand space, which basically kind of gives you a structure to think of and a clear space for every brand to operate in, and then that brand takes forward that philosophy. And definitely, it's about a structured way of thinking, moving towards consideration, moving towards building brand advocates, how content fits in. Yes, the lens might not be totally purely ROI oriented, and that's something that is a balancing act. It's actually a mix of magic and logic. It's not always logic and it's not always magic. So that's something that kind of we've learned from you. Being passionate about what the brand is essentially about and actually thinking about it. And then, yes, measurement is absolutely key to this entire process.
Yes, Mansi, you've summed it very well.
Any last parting words for all marketers or for all agency people?
All I would say is continue to be passionate about the work that you do, and keep evolving. It is important to keep evolving. Times change, and we need to be where the consumers are. We need to stay in touch with them, and be wherever they are, and try and engage as meaningfully as possible with them. Because the attention spans are dropping. The number I remember, 20 years back there used to be one channel. Look at today. So hundreds of channels. Not only channels, the mediums have evolved. So it's important to keep evolving. And one thing that we've learned in the last 2 years is, we all need to be adaptive and remain dynamic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ritesh.
Thank you, Mansi. It was a pleasure.
Over to you, Kya.
Thank you, Mansi, and thank you, Ritesh, for sharing those insights with our viewers. And yes, we're ending that session on very, very wise words by Ritesh that we need to stay adaptive, we need to keep evolving and stay dynamic. Once again, these insights are going to help us definitely through many festive seasons. And now it's time to move towards our next session, which is going to talk about unboxing celebrations, festive insights, trends, and ideas for brand marketeers. Speaking on the topic, we have eminent speakers. I'd like to welcome them on screen. Prasad Shejale, founder and CEO, Logicserve Digital. Pooja Dhamdhere, Associate Vice President, eMarket at Logicserve Digital. Manesh Swamy, Senior Vice President, Creative Communication at Logicserve Digital. I'd like to welcome all of you on screen. A very warm welcome. Manesh, may I request? Hello, welcome. So I'd leave the screen over to you for our viewers to hear you, all of you, on this topic. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. What an awesome, learning previous session when I was actually hearing Ritesh and Mansi really went through those, the last 18 months, and a lot of thought process went to it. But thank you very much. It's such a good to see you all, and thank you for having me here. Thanks Social Samosa, Ritesh and team for putting together such an awesome festive marketing week. Talking about the topic, as all of us know that festive marketing has always been very, very crucial for brands. Even before the pandemic, of course, brands put in a lot of efforts to perfect their festive marketing strategies and make the most out of this time when the consumers are more open towards making those small as well as big purchases, right? But however, this year it's definitely very, very different. The pandemic has affected every aspect of our life. The way we learn, the way we work, the way we entertain, the way we communicate, the way we shop. Okay, everything has changed. And I know someone was talking about the whole that consumer cycle, from awareness to appeal to ask to act to advocacy. The channels have changed completely, and digital as a channel has gained, I would say, more acceptance and trust. This year, I would say consumer sentiments are high, and there is a huge pent up demand. Thus, this year, I personally feel that festive is going to be really big. So, while last year was more about, I would say, surviving and sustenance, now with things sort of stabilizing and slowly, the situations are sort of coming to normalcy. I think brands are obviously looking at scaling up and growing. That's what I feel. And festive season is the, I would say, is the best time to focus on growth and take that business a bit higher, a notch higher on that, right? But of course, the question is how to do that. With all the changes that have happened since the pandemic, the strategies that worked previously may not be relevant. And may not work this time in the post-pandemic world. That's what I feel. Now, I mean, there are multiple, and I was listening to people, and I'm not going to repeat it, but everything has changed. The way me as a consumer, I always keep saying is that I'm a consumer first before a marketeer, and there's a lot of change that I see within me, and that is the change that probably we as a marketeers has to understand and work on that. Now, as we all are on the road to recovery and want to revive our marketing strategies for the festive, there are a few things which are going through my mind. Firstly, I would say online presence is extremely important in today's time, and brands must amplify their online presence. It's not about just having that website or having that beautiful looking app or a listing on the marketplaces, but it's a truly unlocking the benefits of what digital as a medium offers, right? It's about 24/7. It's about convenience. It's about helping the consumer to select what she wants. So all that stuff. It's not just the asset that you're putting in there, but actually unlocking what digital stands for, right? Okay, so that's something that one marketer has to look for. It is not just I'm there on digital, but it is about how do I squeeze the digital and unlock the core of the digital for the consumer. Okay, so that's something that I think we need to work on. Secondly, people are spending more time on social. That last 18 months, I know how much of time that because I really want to learn, I want to entertain. Everything has changed. Okay, so it's a place where people are spending good amount of time, and that's the reason probably the brands need to be present where the consumers are, and social media platforms surely cannot be missed, right? Brands should work on designing very much, I would say, those engaging social media campaigns to drive audiences towards them and provide them solutions for their needs and concerns. Now, when I look back, I think there are a lot of new formats and storytelling ways which are evolving in social media, and for that, important thing, it's not just the format, but it is important to know how consumer behaves on those platforms and why do they come there. Okay, how do I be that native on that platform? How do I be actually understanding the consumer and providing in the format what he wants to consume, or something which should sort of touch his brain, heart, or a gut. Okay, we also see the second one, we also see a lot of social commerce becoming a really big one. So that's the second one. So first one was more of I would say more of a digital asset. Second one was more of a social media. And the third one is about, I would say, business need to explore and experiment. Ritesh also talking about tools and technologies. Okay, so really need to experiment with tools and technologies, right? And to really scale up. Measurement is one part we talked about, right? But beyond measurement, how can I use data to create that experience? Okay, so the third part is the whole technology and data to provide that seamless experience. Okay, so that's the third point probably we really work with. So it's first is, you know, squeezing digital well to provide experience. Second one is social media. Third one is about, you know, how do I actually use those tools and technologies and data to provide that personalized, seamless experience. Now, while we do all these things, okay, creativity, you know, cannot be missed. Okay, and customers want that unique experience, and creativity is what we will help to provide them with such experience. And hence, brands should adopt strategies that have sort of creative approach and figure out. That is where Manesh is going to talk about with us. And this is the fourth point. And the fifth one is about, you know, the channel which is really important is an e-commerce. So consumers across geo, demo, whatever you call it, has embraced e-commerce in last 18 months, right? My 82 years old father is on e-commerce. You know, he thinks that everything can be bought e-commerce, and he tells me, you know, buy it from here, buy it from there, and things like that, right? So when physical stores were not open and we relied, completely on online offerings, okay, and that became the sort of a accepted channel, and for many categories it became also preferred channel in last 18 months. And I know a few days back 25,000 cars got sold in an hour, and all of us are aware of it, right? So thus brands need to focus on e-commerce as a channel and also keep up with trends on these platforms and stay relevant to the times, right? That's what. Lastly, I would say brands need to take into account all the changes that have happened because of the pandemic, and sensitive towards consumers and their concerns. So safety, convenience, service, it's all important now. Okay, that is where probably brands really need to work on very well. Okay, so put digital in instead of just, I would say, center. Okay, make sure that, you know, consumer get that experience that way with technology, data, and so on and so forth. And creative becomes important to provide that personalized creative for in the format for the consumer, right? And one of the important thing which is such a close to my mind is that the reset button is pressed now, and brands need to be in front of the consumer using the right channel with right communication and right format and provide the seamless personalized experience. I strongly believe reset button is pressed. Okay, brand loyalties probably, you know, may not be, I mean, I as a consumer, I have seen my brand loyalties have changed, and whoever is in front of me and provides a better service, probably I'm ready to embrace that. So reset button is pressed. This is the first big festive time. I think brands need to really make use of it, be in front of the customer, provide that experience, and it works. But now I would say my team members Pooja and Manesh will be sharing more detailed insight on how you can ace your marketing strategy for e-commerce and ramp up festive storytelling with the help of the some of the techniques that they have provided. Okay, so over to you, Manesh and Pooja.
Thanks, Prasad. Thank you for an amazing introduction to what the session is going to talk about. While you had your thoughts very clear, I need a presentation to actually take everyone through what we've been doing, as well as what are the strategies that marketers had adopted pre-festive, as well as what they can adapt to leading up to the peak festive period that we have right now. So yeah, so at Logicserve Digital, being very true to our DNA of solving customers' problems, we launched eMarket as a specialized service for addressing brands' needs on their e-commerce strategies, right from strategizing to managing operations to understanding how they can advertise on marketplaces, as well as understanding insights on e-commerce is something that we do under this vertical. Instagram's director of product Vishal had very recently said that the customer journey is no longer linear. It's not even a funnel, it's like a noodle. You have to be available where your customer is, be it on Instagram, be it on Facebook, on marketplaces, horizontal marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, Nykaa, Ajio, and the likes, or as easy as WhatsApp that you have right now. So all these touch points, right from the direct-to-consumer website to marketplaces, is what we handle under eMarket. In the interest of time and the other sessions that have happened during the course of this marketing week that is wonderfully arranged by Social Samosa, I'm going to talk about insights and actions to ace festive on marketplaces, for horizontal marketplaces, specifically Amazon and Flipkart. So the source of the information for the insights as well as actions is, of course, Amazon and Flipkart themselves, as well as the Red Seer Consulting report that came in very recently. So, what is festive when you talk about festive in India? It's not like a timeline that you see here right now. It's mostly a mood. It is a set state of mind that everybody is in, and everybody thinks that festive is something that everybody looks up to. As brand marketers, we cannot say that our festive planning starts off just before the Shera. It starts off as early as May. In terms of product planning, in terms of strategizing, etc. But if we see our plans taking shape somewhere around 4 weeks of the Shera. So how I've slotted my presentation is observations of pre-festive, pre-peak festive that have happened, as well as some quick fix strategies that marketers can adopt to make sure they're ready for peak festive. So the sentiments can be divided into these 4 bubbles that I'm going to talk about right now, starting off with how has the consumption sentiment been. So everybody is looking forward to the festive season. Last year, during the same time, the times were uncertain. We were not sure as to how we can expect if the second wave is going to come. But I think owing to the mass vaccinations, the sentiment right now is definitely positive. The themes that we see around e-commerce and the searches that are happening are around gifting, celebration, lifestyle improvement, as well as investment and leisure. On Amazon specifically, if you see as compared to BAU days, the number of sessions during the first 4 days of their sale period were around 90% more. The searches that happened on individual categories were about 105% more, and the considerations were even more. They were 127%. So who is this festive buyer right now that we see in 2021? Of course, he is optimistic. He or she is optimistic. And very interestingly, around 25% of these individuals are new to e-commerce. And these customers are the ones who will be shopping online moving forward. So the overall baseline shift in customer happens during festive times. New customers are introduced to online shopping. So during pre-festive as well as leading up to the peak festive, customers mostly look for comparisons, look for need-based. For example, if I want to look for dry skin product or something, they do a lot of generic searches as well as competitor and comparison searches. They have not decided on what brand they want to buy. Moreover, the pocket density is also high during festive times. So it is a good idea for us to be out there and understand and be present when the customer is looking for a need base that we are satisfying as brand marketers. During the first 4 days of the festive season that started on Amazon, the Great Indian Sale, as well as the Flipkart Big Billion Days, saw around $2.7 billion of GMV coming in the first 4 days itself. It's estimated to actually cross $9 billion. So this is owing to mostly strong customer funnel expansion as well as high online shopping adoption. Moreover, what is very interesting this year is also the easy pay options that have come in. Those were there last year as well. They accounted for around 5 to 7% of the total GMV. But what you see now is that around in the first 9 days of the festive period, they account for 10 to 15% of the total GMV. So easy pay options are accounting for more sales on e-commerce as well. Moving forward, what are the categories of interest? No points for guessing. Of course, you have your home entertainment, large appliances, smartphones, watches, etc. that are sold online that have high page views as well as new category customers on Amazon. Flipkart alone claims to have sold around 2 watches every second during the sale period. And the number of smartphones that were sold on Flipkart alone could build around 1,000 Burj Khalifas. So that is something that Flipkart claims. Moreover, home improvement is is a category that has been doing well since the pandemic started and all of us started working from home. All of us could see the crack in the wall and we made sure that we bought products to improve our home. So that continues to happen wherein we are working from home and hybrid working is going on. Something that is very interesting trend that came in 2020 was above the waist fashion. We were all very curious to know, dress very efficiently on the top part of our body, and we were all completely in a lounge mode below. So that was the trend that picked up. But very interestingly, during this festive time, because we are on a road to recovery and everybody is willing to step out of their homes, a very interesting category and a personal favorite of mine got the maximum visitors on Amazon as well. That was shoes. So Flipkart alone sold around, the marketing material that Flipkart brought out after the festive season was that they mentioned that they sold around 100x height of Mount Everest worth of footwear boxes. So we know that people are ready, people are willing to step out of their homes. So categories apart from the normal categories that took a boom in 2020 are also expanding. So travel is something that people are mostly looking at moving forward. Going to creative communication, I think Manesh will be a better person to get in detail. I will just concentrate on the e-commerce part of it. This is a good time for us to do a lot of listening when it comes to looking at what the customers are asking for on marketplaces. For example, you have your if you're a part of your customer's basket, he will come, he will buy your product and maybe make the final purchase. But what about the new consumers? They have questions. So these are the questions that they will pose on marketplaces and wait for your replies. So instead of that, before the peak festive season, it is a good idea to do listening of these questions and include these questions in your communication, in your product descriptions, in your A+ content on Amazon, etc. And be ready for the huge chunk of customers who are going to come in on marketplaces during the Diwali sale. Moreover, interesting ad formats like brand video ads that Amazon very recently launched is something that people are adopting to. So talking about your brand story or usage of your product and how your product is used and how people are happy using your product is something that you can explore during the festive time. Also, a lot of tier 2, tier 3 cities are digitally equipped and understand, like Prasad mentioned, even his father who's 80 plus is now digitally equipped. So you also have people from tier 2, tier 3 cities who are well equipped and understand and know what they want. Language is no barrier anymore on marketplaces. So including regional specific keywords within your communication is something that you can look at. So this is a quick checklist for marketers. I will not go into detail right now. You can take a screen grab and maybe we can have conversations and questions at the end of the session to address individual pointers. But what I would like to stress on is setting the right KPIs during the festive season. You need not get confused between what your KPIs are and what you're evaluating at the end of the campaign. So for example, if there is a new product launch, what you need to look at the reach as well as the page views that the product has received rather than the conversions in the initial phase. Your conversions are of course an important matrix to judge, but not for your new launches or the products that you want to promote initially, especially during the festive period. Conversions can happen and the KPIs can be judged for conversions based on the best sellers that you have, the fast moving products you have, or maybe the products for which you need to liquidate your inventory. So conversions and new to brand customers are something that we can look at from a conversion KPI point of view. Another interesting thing that brand marketers can look at under the creative and content strategy is infusing influencer marketing. So a lot of marketplace platforms discourage inorganic reviews, but in spite of that, we see sellers putting a lot of inorganic reviews and getting flagged for it. So what is a smart and an efficient way of doing it is by infusing influencer marketing. Reviews is something that people actually look at before making the final purchase, with the product images being the first. We also in fact did a survey to find out what is it that drives customer to actually click the buy now button. It is of course your product information, your right set of images, plus reviews is something that is mostly important. So while you're actually collaborating with an influencer to make sure that your product, the right and honest review of your product is set out on social media platforms, it's a good idea for them to make the purchase on a marketplace and leave a good review there. So infusing influencer marketing is something that we can look at. Apart from that, on the right side of the slide, you can see how you can leverage search advertising on individual marketplaces. And if there are any questions around this, I can take it later, but this is mostly self-explanatory. We can come to it a little later. What I would like to leave you all with is a thought that festive does not end on 4th of November. So whenever you shop online, the joy is actually split into two. When you actually make the purchase, put in those credit card details, and the second one is when the product actually gets delivered to your home. So there are a lot of impulse buyers, last minute. So I myself have not shopped for any of the festivities right now because of our busy schedule. We do it 2 or 3 days prior because Amazon's quick delivery has actually spoiled us. So that is the reason it is important for you to continue your campaigns, continue your communication throughout the end of this year. Owing to the New Year celebrations, a lot of important events taking place in a lot of people's lives. Moreover, I also already mentioned that there's a baseline shift in the number of customers. So it is important to target these people who have come on the platform for the first time. And the last point being that there are a lot of increased brand searches that happen after the festive period, because a lot of people have done their generic searches, have done their comparison, and now they've finally decided on which brand they want to make the purchase for, and they will start looking at the brand. On Amazon specifically, around 3% of increased brand searches are observed after the festive season. So it's ideal for you to be there when the customer is looking for you. The last point being gamification and sampling. Innovative ways of engaging customer is something that is encouraged each time, wherein you can use AR, VR to make sure that customers experience your product in a virtual reality before they finally make the purchase. And sampling is something that can be introduced with your best sellers whenever you're going to launch a new product, for which you've seen that there have been considerations in the festive period. And with this, I would like to end my part of the presentation, and Manesh will now, I hope I've not taken a lot of your time, Manesh. You can take over and talk about the break of clutter in the creative communication that we see right now.
Okay, thanks, Pooja, and thanks, Prasad, for some great insights. I really liked the lounge fashion that which you spoke about. Okay, so this question is to the Social Samosa team. So technically, we are kind of already hitting 43 right now. Is it okay if I kind of take another 15 minutes? If that is okay and it is not kind of overlapping? Khyati or Ritesh or somebody? Or shall I continue with my presentation?
Yes, Manesh, you can go ahead. We can probably have another 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. So I am not sure if I can do it in the next 10 minutes, but let me try. So, okay, hi everyone. And thank you so much, Hitesh and the Social Samosa team, to kind of have me again here. And it's always a pleasure to kind of interact with the community and give it back and learn something in return. So this time what I'm going to do is, because of, I'm kind of really short on time, let me kind of directly dive into. I want to show some interesting slides and then talk about it while okay, so can you guys, the normal question that we hear, can you guys see my screen? Okay, so I'll kind of directly dive into. So the first, because I think everybody spoke, right? For the last 2 days, people have been talking about, how important this festive season is for all the brands, and how everybody wants to kind of make the most when it comes to, this entire festive season for the, which started like a month back and it will kind of go till Christmas. So, from a content perspective, from a communication perspective, I want to kind of add few points which might help everybody, whether it is from the brand side or the brand custodian or even the agency, to kind of do something different, so that your content piece kind of stands out from the rest of the clutter that is going to be there anyways. So I'm sure like Facebook and Google and all our partners have been telling us for quite some time, right? Like the attention has kind of gone down. Your logo, your messaging has to be there in the first 2 seconds and stuff like that. So I'm sure we have learned that. So I want to kind of move a little 2 step back and kind of think and talk about few things which is kind of the base of everything that we do, right? As content creators, as branded content creators. Okay. So I want to talk about these 5 things, okay, which is my rehashed ingredients for a successful storytelling that will help you drive impact in this entire festive season. That is, I'm going to talk about like maybe 2 minutes or maybe a minute, and then try and show you some example of how we tried achieving that with our brands, with our partners. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about, like we've been told, this is always the thing, right? Like the product is the hero. Okay, we are here for selling a certain thing via an interesting communication, but the idea is we are here to sell things. Okay, but I have a different take here. Can can the product kind of switch role and be the supporting uh, actor in this entire piece, or can the product not be so much on the face and let the story or let the content uh, drive the conversation? Is it possible? Yes, there are brands who have kind of done that. We have also done it. I'll talk about one of our clients called as Tata Pravesh. So this is a brand which kind of manufactures doors and windows, which are steel doors and windows, but with a wooden finish. The product is amazing. It's kind of and the customers are kind of loving it. But so the brief that they kind of gave us just before when people were kind of moving out of the lockdown 2 phase, and there was still the third wave cut terror which was kind of lurking around. uh, the brand wanted to do something interesting without kind of being a little tom about what the kind of they are doing. So I will show you that example. Okay, it's a 1 minute. So what we actually did was we created thumb stoppers of 10 seconds, which was like very direct, very to the point, uh, which was kind of the most relevant messaging at that particular time. And of course you will see the product as a supporting role in every film. Okay, so I will just move on to the slide and I will play it. I hope the music plays. Somebody just give me a Prasad, just give me a thumbs up if. So as you guys saw, it was too direct, short and sweet, and still the messages was kind of it kind of reached to the consumer properly and nicely. I'll move on to the next point. I'm sure the agency folks around, they might feel or they might not like me when I say this. Okay, so there is this like a little conditioning saying that, okay, if you want to make good content, you have to kind of pump in money, and hence your content will kind of you know it will come out the way it is supposed to be. But I would also kind of request brands and agencies to kind of figure out alternate ways of driving home your message. Okay, and of course try and kind of figure out how it can be done in a shoestring budget and still drive results for your brand. So I'm gonna talk about one of our brands. We've just started working on a brand. It's a global brand. It's called as Tilda Rice, and it's uh, sorry, just a second. Yeah. So and it's called as Tilda Rice. It's from Ebro, and they have kind of launched in India some time back, and they wanted to kind of connect to the Indian audience via their products. Okay, and this is something that what we did for them. It's a 1 minute short video. मेरा फेवरेट फेस्टिवल आया है
पता है बाप्पा और मुझे सबसे ज्यादा क्या पसंद है? आजी के हाथों से बने मोदक। जब आजी नारियल और गुड़ को मोदक में भरती है तब ऐसा लगता है कि सारी खुशियों को समेटकर मोदक में भर रही है। और जब स्टीमर खुलता है तब मोदक की ऐसी खुशबू आती है, ओहो, मानो सारे परिवार को खुशियों में शामिल होने के लिए बुला रही है। और हाँ, मोदक में एक सीक्रेट इंग्रेडिएंट डलता है और वो है ढेर सारा प्यार। Thank you, Bappa, and thank you, Tilda Basmati, for bringing families together and making festivals yummier. Tilda Basmati rice wishes you Happy Ganesh Chaturthi.
So, so we have started, the first festival that is, that came along, and we are going to kind of celebrate it as we kind of grow, starting with Dasara, with Diwali, and then followed by Christmas and New Year. So the idea is to kind of, create small pieces of good content and still, try and kind of narrow down the marketing funnel and take them close to the the consumer journey, so that they start becoming advocates and eventually kind of they kind of start buying it and using the product. So that is our experiment here. The third point that I want to kind of emphasize is how it is because we as as a brand, we're kind of competing with around 1,000 brands on your feed for that attention, right? And people then wait for one creative or one interesting video or some kind of an experience, wait, and then they kind of move on, right? So it is very important that you should surprise your consumer with your content. Okay, so I think somebody in the chat also asked, saying that is there like a I think the question was something like, is there something specifically when it comes to tier 2 and 3 cities, is there like a trick to create content? Okay, so this is one of our this is one of our brand from Unwanted 21 Days, which is a contraceptive brand from Mankind Pharma. We've been working with them for almost like a couple of years right now. So there is also a little assumption, right, saying that when it comes to a serious brand, like something that has to do with life, your health, and they have a little aura to carry around, and so it is difficult for brands to kind of drive message, right? And of course when you are all, there is also a little no kind of a little guardrail saying that you cannot do fun, you cannot do little quirky on the brand. But surprisingly, we have done some interesting campaigns for the brand, where the insight was we will normalize conversations around contraception. And most of the campaigns that we have done, it is all festive driven. Okay, and we have done campaigns when the first lockdown hit. We did campaign around when the second lockdown hit, and as we kind of speak, there is a series of next campaigns that is going to kind of launch. So in interest of time, I cannot share, but I will share maybe one clip of the latest campaign that we did, where I am assuming that people were surprised that that the brand can take such a kind of route. So give me a second. I'm just playing our campaign.
अब मेहरबान कदरदान साहिबान, खुल गई है मनोरंजन की दुकान। एक तरफ बड़े बुजुर्ग का फैमिली बढ़ाने का अनवांटेड ज्ञान, और दूसरी तरफ है नौजवान जो कर रहे हैं अनवांटेड ज्ञान से सावधान। पोता दे दे पोता, पोता दे दे पोता, पोता दे दे पोता, पोता दे दे पोता। शादी के अगले दिन से ही दादी का है पोता, सबके बच्चे हो रहे तो रहना चाहे सोता। पोता दे दे पोता, पोता दे दे पोता। इतनी में क्या जल्दी छपना हम अभी रेडी, अभी फैमिली प्लान करा, हो जाओ जब रेडी। बन जाना मम्मी डैडी पहले हो जाओ तुम रेडी, बन जाना मम्मी डैडी पहले हो जाओ तुम रेडी।
So what I played right now, it was like a shorter edit from the longer music video, but the focus was selling this over the counter medicine, and the TGs were specifically the Bharat audience, and plus a little bit of Bengal and little bit of Maharashtra. So hence we kind of made this entire communication in multiple languages, and hence kind of it was little easier for us to drive home the message. So moving on. Okay, so there is this question, and I've seen a lot of articles, a lot of debates where people are questioning, does even like influencer marketing help, and is there like a real action that somebody who's seeing your influencer content kind of go and buys that product in a marketplace. So I will talk about an example that it's a very difficult category. Okay, it's the BFSI space, where we used influencer marketing to drive home a point that it was almost like a shift in buying behavior. Like people are okay buying things online. Like I'm sure you must have, whenever you enter your building, you might see boxes and boxes of delivery, right? That's the new consumption pattern. So people are okay buying things online, but when it comes to buying insurance online, there is a little they kind of take a little step back. So we wanted to kind of focus that, and we created like series of films. This was I think like around 6-7 months back we did this. uh, I actually wanted to kind of show few and then kind of move on to the next one, but I'll see if okay, I have maybe a minute, so I'll try and kind of show one film.
ये लो जुम्बा भी ऑनलाइन सीख लिया, सही ना? अगर ये सही तो लाइफ इंश्योरेंस ऑनलाइन क्यों नहीं? हाँ? अरे मैम गाना चेंज करो ना। hdfclife.com पर जाएं और जानिए लाइफ इंश्योरेंस खरीदना है कितना आसान।
So people might ask, right, did it work? So of course we did series of 7 films. It was like a complete full funnel activity, and but the crux was we used influencer as as our main ingredient here. I just wanted to, so this is one slide which will give you you know like how did the campaign kind of performed. We were very happy when we came to know that the website visit was kind of increased by 28%, which was like a big thing. We are kind of as we speak, today morning we kind of went live with the part 2 version of this campaign. It is, of course, it has Festive as the background of the campaign. So I will kind of play that because I want to show how interestingly we can do influencer marketing bundled into a content.
और आपका स्टार्टअप कब तक रिटर्न्स देगा?
है जी, और देखो जी HDFC लाइफ के पेंशन गारंटेड प्लान से मेरे इन्वेस्टमेंट ने तो पहले ही रिटर्न दे दिया है? अब बिजनेस की बारी है। सही है ना? तो जल्दी से hdfclife.com पे क्लिक करो, इंश्योर करो।
Of course, we have also done a similar 7-part series where there will be more films, but there is one interesting thing that I want to kind of show just for the execution of it. I'm just playing this one also.
स्कूल फीस डन। चलो तेरी रिपोर्ट कार्ड चेक करते हैं। हाँ पापा, 98 आउट ऑफ 100। ओ वाह पुत्र,
शुक्र है बाबा जी का, अपने बाप पर नहीं क्या?
HDFC लाइफ संचय प्लस प्लान की गारंटेड रिटर्न्स और लाइफ कवर के साथ इस जीनियस के फ्यूचर की प्लानिंग तो कर ली है। सही है ना? तो जल्दी से hdfclife.com पर क्लिक करो, इंश्योर करो।
I'm hoping this campaign will kind of repeat the success that we found in the first one. So this is the last slide, okay, where I'm not going to show an example, but the idea is get people talking about your content. Seeing that content, let them hit the DM button, send it to their friends, family on Insta, Facebook, wherever it is, or help them. They see that interesting content, let them save it, so that I'm sure later whenever they kind of have that intent of buying, you guys are top of mind. I want to kind of talk about few brands that I'm kind of really liking of how they're doing things. I think I just saw an Unacademy campaign which kind of went live yesterday, which had a little IPL mashup featuring Sachin Tendulkar and Javed Jafri. So that was interesting, right? The entire the specific TG is actually talking about it. I think Wake Fit, the mattress brand. I think I really liked how they kind of used the biggest influencer, which is Kumbhakaran, for their for their activity, which kind of perfectly timed with Dasara. So I think that is something that we encourage, and have, even we would love to do that. So I'm just kind of leaving the screen. Maybe you can take a screenshot if you guys like, and try and kind of use it in your next campaign. So I think I am done. I think am I on time? Yeah, it's 5. So
Thank you. Thank you so much, Manesh, Pooja, Prasad. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your case studies and insights with all our viewers. I'm sure they have taken a lot of takeaways from it, and I can see the comments pouring in. If you'd like to just take a look at the chat box, there's a lot of love coming in for your campaigns as well. Thank you once again for being here and sharing your insights at the Festive Marketing Week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Bye. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving forward to our next discussion on a very intriguing topic: social commerce, how content creators and influencers can contribute to festive sales. Speaking on this session, we have with us Lakshmi Balasubramanian, co-founder at Green Room Network; Ayush Guha, head business development and strategy, Hype Times Internet Limited; Neil Gogia, co-founder at iPlix Media; Arushi Sethi, business head at Poland Zoo Media; Pranav Panpalia, founder Opera FX; Vinay Pillai, vice president Cloud Pocket Aces. And moderating this session is Mrinal Mathur Rajwani, managing partner Social Samosa Network and editor Social Catch-Up. A very warm welcome to all of you. Requesting everybody to please switch on their cameras. And Mrinal, over to you to take the discussion forward.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay. Hi, hello. Welcome to Social Samosa Festive Marketing Week. I'm audible, right? Because all of you are on mute, so I don't know.
All good, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome, Lakshmi. Welcome, Arushi. Welcome, Neil, Ayush. First of all, thank you for joining me here. I mean, this is the biggest panel of the entire festival. I mean, I'm super excited for this one because this particular session is really close to me because I work with creators, I work with influencers, and I know the value they add to any brand's marketing effort, a branding effort. I'm hoping that I'm going to get a lot of fun, lot of insights from you guys because you guys run this industry well. So I'm hoping that you guys are having a great festive season. Like, though I can see a lot of that on Instagram and YouTube, but just want to know how are things with you guys? How is festive season for you all? Lakshmi, we'll start with you.
Festive season, I mean, it's been good, like always. So although we've had, down phases with the first COVID phase, the second COVID phase this time, it thankfully goes away before festive starts and work kind of picks up. And that's what's happened this time around too. So work's really picked up. Things are looking good. It's been busy the last month. And I'm going to assume that it's going to be this way for the next couple of months as well. So whether it's influencer content, all of it has been on the boom right now, the last couple of months.
And how are things with you, Neil?
Things are quite good. Now travel has also opened, so it has opened various verticals which were not possible earlier. A lot of content creators are also now participating in physical shoots of the brand, especially during the festival season. Right now there was this Flipkart, Amazon sale as well, which is also considered quite big, especially for content creators. So work-wise, this season, as Lakshmi said, is quite busy, which is a good thing. And I personally have never said in last 2 years that this period is usually dull, because this industry keeps on surprising us on a quarterly basis.
Arushi, how about work-wise festival season for you?
So actually, I'd like to say that influencer marketing is a festival in itself. There is no such thing as a festive season. So right from whether you have end of season sale to you have IPL, which is a festival, to summer festival, to monsoon festival, and like influencers are celebrating some festival all the time. So yeah, I think it's been good throughout. And this is, I mean, honestly, it's not any different from the rest of the year, but excited that, like Neil said, that we can at least do a lot more in terms of, more categories are opening up, brands are spending a little bit more now. And also the fact that, of course, we can probably have some physical events with influencers rather than just online. So yeah, but it's great.
Vinay, for you?
Yeah, it's back to that season where it feels like we have lesser employees than we need, right? I mean, in general, things have just picked up like crazy. When it's festive, it's seasonal. We've luckily for us, it's always been very kind. Both the COVID waves kind of did not happen during festive. In a general, I don't know what's for everyone, but for us, about 30-40% of our entire year's, billing, revenues, everything kind of happens in October, November, December. So we're really looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, this is really the time where it's a little crazy just to keep up with everything, but the outcomes are always great.
Ayush, how's work-wise festival, Diwali for HIP and for you?
It's the same as Vinay said. It's you're just trying to survive through this right now. It's all the operational bottlenecks that you might have imagined have proven themselves to be true. It's a coincidence, and as Arushi said, it's always something or the other with the influencer marketing and the creator economy. But with the IPL, the T20 World Cup, the lockdown not being there, and the festive season, all 3-4 things colliding together is a madhouse right now. And yeah, I think that we are just trying to keep up the operations running smooth. I think that's what's critical right now.
So I had one question that I wanted to ask you guys. So we know that last year, because brands couldn't leverage other channels, they went heavy on influencer marketing. But not, since the things are changing now, they can now leverage their other, even especially digital, maybe if they can leverage other platforms. So do you think there is a dip or a rise this festive season when it comes to influencer marketing?
I feel yes, brands can definitely look at other avenues, maybe physical shoots and all that stuff. But I feel the pie which influencer marketing, the percentage which it used to get last year, it has increased further. So maybe somewhere or the other brand has either increased their marketing budgets or reduced some other share, because it's quite visible that, especially now since the majority of the focus is on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok is out of the picture. We are seeing, at least we at iPlex are seeing multiple categories of brands and new brands entering this arena, which were not even there last year. So, and even the earlier brands which were there, they're either sustaining it, or instead of exponentially, they're linearly increasing their budgets, because huge bump of new content creators which were not available earlier because of the surge of reels and shorts. So I think brands are going to increase their budget until unless they feel that they are tapping onto the newer audiences consistently. And the whole meaning of influencer marketing, that they are reaching out genuinely and tapping on traffic and conversion, that's happening. Like this won't stop until unless a threshold is reached.
Okay. Vinay, Arushi, do you have anything?
Yeah. So I think it was like a trigger event, right? So similar to like when Jio launched, everyone kind of starting using mobile phones. It's not like it reversed the trend. I think it just made something that would happen over 8 years happen much faster. So very similar to that, I think when brands started understanding that, hey, there is another way where it kind of is like the perfect marriage of media plans and branded content, right? Where you can get something delivered, you can get something executed. So I think content creator marketing as a whole like went up, and I don't see it going back. obviously other things have opened up. So overall, the total spends have increased, but the portion of what gets allocated to influencer marketing, I don't think it's going to go back into the reverse. If anything, we're seeing more and more of this becoming mainstay for everything that we do. Especially for smaller brands, they don't invest in hero content anymore. They just don't think it's necessary to go and make a single unit for 1 crore and then put media spends behind it. They just kind of are straight away jumping into digital.
Not just small brands, actually. In fact, really, really big brands and huge players have started kind of doing away with hero content and endorsements, large-scale endorsements, and moving into multiple films and smaller influencers, although larger, smaller influencers. But yeah, that's been a trend which has been on the rise.
Yeah, there's also, I think, a lot more penetration within the influencer marketing ecosystem, which means that probably last year, if they were using influencers with a larger following, for example, I feel like this year, two things. One is the fact that there are a lot more platforms that have opened up. So the homegrown platforms have suddenly skyrocketed in the last 6 months. So whether you're more Chingari, Chell, Roposo, all of them, which gives more and more influencers a chance to sort of, and more brands to spend across different mediums. Secondly, also the fact that the influencers are sort of like a top-down approach. Like last year, it was probably a lot more top-heavy, but now I think the macro-nano influencers this year, so brands are spending a lot more on scale, like Lakshmi and Vinay also did mention. And the focus on tier 2, tier 3 cities, so like the penetration within India also has increased, and that can only be achieved through more investments within influencer marketing, which is very, very regional, very, very targeted, very, very local. So yeah, it's still sounding great for I think everybody on this call. Like the festive spends have only.
Like I agree to what Arush is saying, and I read somewhere, like I think it was in Inca's influencer marketing report, that the influencer marketing industry in India might become INR 900 crores by end of 2021. We have seen digital taking a major chunk of the pie. Do you think that influencer marketing, even when we say that digital is making its way, it's making impact, influencer marketing is yet restricted to 10 to 25%. So as a custodian, do you think that it will move up the chain?
Yeah, definitely. See, what I have observed is that there are various brands which are still exploring what can be the outcome of, I won't use the word influencer marketing. At the end of the day, it's a piece of content. What all can be the possible outcomes which they can expect from a piece of content? Most of the brands have exploded till last year primarily for branding, but now there are more than 600 D2C brands in India. And these brands, they want direct traffic on their e-commerce, which potentially leads to a conversion. What I feel that sooner or later brands will start realizing that they can create an engine on a monthly basis, which various FMCG players are already doing. Homegrown brands which are now just running just because of influencer marketing in terms of their majority of the marketing spend and getting 500,000 worth of traffic on a monthly basis just via YouTube videos. So I feel once influencer, the investment which brands are doing can give them more and more defined results apart from just viewership or the impact, say traffic, say new subscribers, how many coupon codes were used, and brands, we will have more and more case studies on this. Brands will definitely consider it even more, because in Google ads or in other digital medium platforms, you can clearly see that, okay, one visitor will come and I will have to pay this much. So brands can be more strategic how they are planning their budgets. But influencer marketing, there are few brands who have done it, and they have created great engines which are running successfully on a monthly basis, where they know they are spending this much and they will get this much apart from branding and everything. If we'll have more and more case studies, which I'm sure we'll have within the next 2 quarters, it will give a boost to a lot of new brands to see, okay, like conversion branding is done. What if we want to work with 100 influencers, and what we can expect in terms of traffic or conversions, especially for D2C brands on a monthly basis? So that is my take on this.
Yeah, I agree. So it's the brands, right? The brands are spending, and The brands that are spending, like Neil said, D2C brands and fintech and edtech brands. And if you ask any VC out there in the market right now, they'll say the amount of money that's poured into the market, into the startup and then the fintechs and the edtech brands is more than what they've seen in the past decade, essentially, in the last 9 months alone. So if there is the budget, and these are the primary brands that you know test out the influencer market slowly, and these are the ones who actually reach the masses through the influencer network, it's definitely going to increase the pie. And it's a domino effect, right? You have few major North Star players, your big HULs of the brand of the world, if they start increasing budgets, you can see the trickle effect down to everyone else, right? Because they've already tested waters. You know, it's no more a case study. Does influencer marketing work? It is working, and it's working across categories and across industries and verticals, and it's working across platforms and different assets within platforms, right? Everyone has a different agenda and a different metric of evaluation, and every single aspect is working. So this is definitely going to increase, and it's going to take away from some or the other part of the marketing budgets, but it is a focus, I suppose, right now.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to add one
No,
point.
I was just saying
that.
you have something to add.
Yes, I was just going to add one point. So I think if you look at influencer marketing or content creators in a silo, you may look at it as around 10 to 15% spends, right, as of now. But what's happening now is that influencer marketing / content creators are being sort of collaborating with other mediums within digital. So for example, if you're getting creators to collaborate on content, you're getting DVCs, right, which are the faces of that DVC are influencers today. Or you are doing where influencer marketing or creator ecosystem is merging with tech, and then you're getting, for example, like all the platforms that exist right now, right? You're also merging with commerce, and you have social commerce and affiliate marketing. So I think if you look at just creators in silo, you may not feel that the pie is that big, but if you look at it combined with all the opportunities within the digital ecosystem, I think clearly brands can spend up to 50% or more of their budgets if they use it in the right way, right? So yeah.
I mean, I have a slightly different take on this. I think that the primary amount of budgets, be it with television or even in the past with like newspapers or even with digital, the ease of how you can reach a really large number of people is what's defined what gets the most money, right? So easiest to get to most people if you put your slot on a Kapil Sharma show at 9 p.m. Go and spend most money there, or put yourself on the first page of Times of India, you can get to most people. I do think that from that perspective, influencer marketing is still more difficult than going and putting out a Facebook ad and then just spending budgets on it, or an Insta ad, right? So hence I think that there is a little bit of that curve still, where consolidation will happen, where you can create influencer content almost as a media asset that doesn't require too much of people involvement other than a brand putting something out and creators getting to go and pick it up and put it out. So I don't think that a 50-60% is very, very difficult without automation. But yeah, I mean, I think the pie is increasing, but I don't know if it'll ever get to 50-60% of the budgets on digital. But if it does, it'll require some level of automation. And if a brand comes and says, I'm willing to put 10 crores today, but I need to reach that many people by tomorrow, like what can you do to kind of make that happen? Like, I think that fundamental question is still something that we've probably not answered completely.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you could look at influencer marketing as two things, right? Like when I said one part is the amplification bit, where you just want to kind of put out something and get it spread across to a larger audience, although diverse audience, unlike your, let's say a Facebook ad. The other part is, I think like Ayush had mentioned, it's more content creation. And content creation has limitations. It involves physical work, right? So there's only so much you can do, and it's scalable as long as, I mean, for an agency, you can scale, you hire more, it's physical work. So there's only so much you can do with content creation. So while the amplification bit can be automated, it can grow exponentially probably. The other part will have some kind of a limitation, and rightly so. There's all of it grows to a certain threshold and kind of stops there, which is good too. So yeah, that's probably where I don't think influencer marketing has reached its threshold. I don't know if 900.
Although, Lakshmi, like to your point, the TikTok hashtag challenge, right? Yeah. Where brands could buy that hashtag was kind of, something that was achieving that, right? Like a brand could come and spend a few crores and reach out to an insane amount of audience just via content creation.
Yeah.
So,
but if you notice, I mean, the TikTok kind of apps, or even your current day MX equivalents, it's a standard kind of a procedure, right? Even when we execute those, it's the same move that they have to repeat, or it's the same dialogue that they have to repeat. The moment it gets into a creative space, each of them have to add a personal touch, have to add their organic bit. I mean, again, that goes into approvals and so on and so forth, scripting, good quality shoot. When it gets into all of that, it's not feasible. You can't do that with 500 people, 200 people in 3 days, unless we go crazy, which we do sometimes, but yeah.
But the sad part is that people still, like brands will still expect that they want to invest, say, 10 crores and want results from humans in 3 days. I mean, like they are machines. Okay. I also wanted to ask, like we've discussed that influencer marketing is moving up the curve, step by step, but they are. We have seen that from a plug and play that, okay, I want X many creators to do XYZ thing. They're now the brands are doing a lot more with these creators. We have seen Ashna walking for L'Oreal in Paris Fashion Week. We have seen a lot of creators in their ads. We have seen special curated campaigns that run on different other platforms with these creators. As influencer custodians, as people you work with, work with these influencers day in, day out, what are some of the perception challenges that you still notice when you pitch a campaign to a brand, or what are some of the perception changes that you're expecting from the industry? So we'll start with Ayush.
A few actually. One is the age-old perception that influencers and creators are a distribution network, which they're not, right? They are creators on their own. They have a content, they have a tonality, they have an audience who follows them for their bits and pieces. So it's a collaborative effort between the brand and the influencer for any campaign. It's not a distribution network. It's not a billboard. It's not a TVC slot that you're buying. With the slightly more legacy-based brands, it's a difficult voice to penetrate. Slightly older brands, it's difficult to communicate to them that this is not how it works. You cannot just put a logo unit and make me play a game. That's not how you use influencers. That's the first part. The second part, which is the biggest perception, again, it comes from these bigger brands, is they test waters with smaller budgets. Network effects on influencers is the biggest thing, right? It works. If you spend more, you will get much higher return. But if you spend less, you will get a linear return, but the progression is not linear. 10x amount of money gives you 1000x the returns, whereas 1x will only give you 5x essentially, right? That's very important to tell the brands that if you want, and the expectation with influencer marketing with them is that we'll get one content, it'll just go viral and people will follow. It doesn't work like that. You have to invest a big chunk to make a much greater return. That happens a lot. So I think these two are, and then the third part essentially is using influencers. And when influencers move out of their space of content creation, say they are acting in a particular thing, or they are brand endorsements or brand friends, they're sort of looked slightly as a B grade category to an actor or a TV actor, which essentially kind of there's a little unstructuredness in the market of how you value an influencer out of the sphere of them being an influencer or a content creator. And that unstructuredness is what's being addressed right now. And I think it's an evolution, and it'll get consolidated or a little more structured in the next couple of months or next year or so. I think these are three bigger challenges that we face.
Rishi, you have anything that you want to add?
I think reiterating what Ayush said. So first thing is that the brands need to stop thinking that they know the influencer's audience better than the influencer, right? Like they need to stop saying that मुझे लगता है कि आयुष को ये करना चाहिए. Like आयुष को पता है उसको क्या करना चाहिए, right? Like listen to him. Like stop. Like let it be two-way communication, not just one-way communication, which is super important. The second thing I think is that what brands are not able to do, or what they're not realizing, is that they're using the same influencer across the funnel. There are different influencers that serve different purposes. You can't get somebody with a 1 million following to also spread awareness and get you sales and build advocacy for your brand. And different influencers' content styles channels are meant for different brand objectives, right? But just so people are literally just looking at numbers, right? And of course, from that, coming to the next point, that 1 million followers doesn't mean anything, right? So you like the more the following doesn't equal to the better the influencer, right? So that's just something. There are influencers within their niche who have not as much following, but have a very, very loyal audience with a much, or rather a lot more engaged. Their audience is a lot more engaged. So I definitely think that and it's not that brands don't know this, but sometimes it becomes hard to keep reminding them about this. So it would be nice if they sort of we're here as agencies to sort of bridge this gap between the brands and the creators. So I wish they just listen to us a little bit more, not treat us just as like brokers. Okay, iska cost kya hai? But yeah.
Lakshmi, Neil, whenever you want to add something.
Yeah, go. You want to go first, Lakshmi?
Sure. No, I kind of agree with all of what has been put forward here. And like Arushi mentioned, numbers become, it's not even sometimes numbers, right? Brands, you know how they look at influencers, do I know this person? Do I recognize this person? So if the brand manager says, hey, I know this person, so yeah, I will go ahead with him. That kind of becomes tricky. Sometimes they even have good numbers, but you know, that particular brand manager may not recognize that person. Not spoken about in their friend circle, family circle, so they don't want to go ahead with that person, even though they're probably going to be extremely kind of effective for the for that particular campaign or whatever. So yeah, so apart from that, you know, sometimes I think like one of them mentioned is the influencer knows what works for them. Sometimes it might not appeal to a particular brand. The brand here is the person who's operating it, right? So it might not appeal to that person's sensibilities in terms of creative or content quality, but sometimes that's what works. And you know, the option is either to go with them or not go with them if you think they don't kind of suit what your sensibilities are or your brand sensibilities are. But to kind of get influencers to do something that's not them is going to be detrimental to the influencer, is going to be detrimental to the brand. You know, those kind of finer nuances, I guess, is what requires a lot of tweaking, and it's happening. There's been a lot of growth from the brand's end, from us, you know, as agencies, our end, influencers end over the last few years, and it's only getting better. So hopefully these things will get, every industry kind of evolves and grows. So we see that happening on an everyday basis. But yeah, some of these challenges and niggles continue to kind of exist.
Yeah, I think there's like two things. One I find funny, one I find really annoying. The funny thing is every time we start talking about creator marketing with any brand, like they pull the youngest member in their team, maybe like a 21-year-old intern, to give feedback on like who should be in the campaign. I don't know why they feel like, oh, maybe they use Instagram a lot. They'll know who these people are. They'll go and find the youngest person in their office and they'll put them on that thread and be like, okay, like now these guys will give you feedback. I think the annoying part is we always hear that like creators are difficult to work with. You know, every brand will come and tell you this, that, hey, you know, I hired this A-list actor and we sent them the script and they said it as is and they just, you know, and yeah, I mean, I think a Bollywood actor doesn't really care about whether it works for your brand, whether it works for their, you know, profiles on their channels and their distribution modality. For them, you know, nobody's going to come back and ask them, did this video do well? Did this video provide value? Was what the CPV was? For creators, it's really important. Like,
always be, you look so hot most times.
Yeah, and like it has nothing to do with the brand. Like, you know, it is like literally completely unrelated. But for creators, it matters how their videos perform. You know, how well the brands are received. They really pay attention to this. And if you want the greatest value out of it, like please, you know, involve them in the conversation. They will surprise you. This is why they do well, right? Because they know how to get to people and influence people better than we do, better than brands do as well. So that's essentially, I think, this whole thing around, you know, creators are very difficult. I think that they're the only ones actually fighting for, you know, the right thing in that process. So you might as well listen to them.
I missed out on one though. I think one more thing that I think most of us face is changing rate cards on a monthly basis or every 2-month basis, which is very difficult to make brands understand. I think that's a struggle that, well, you don't complain when stocks rise in price every 15 days or 10 days or 2 days, right? Well, creators are the demand of the market right now. Their prices do increase these days. And they, as in obviously with the follower base and their engagements. But I think that's it's a tricky territory to navigate. Do we understand from the brand's perspective of why it should not be that much? Well, the need of the hour is different a little bit.
Yeah, I always kind of explain this as a demand supply situation.
Yeah.
So the long-term brands did kind of understand when their rates actually did drop too. So post-festive, post the busy time, the rates did drop, and for slightly larger people, and they got happy. And at that point, it all made sense.
No, Ayush, one way we've like dealt with it is like a lot of times we propose moving to a CPV model. Like, let's just talk about performance-related metrics, and you pay us more if we do well. So the moment that happens, then brands are very happy to lock off that.
Yeah. But then you open up a whole subjective analysis of what is in the video, how have you said it, is it rightly said, has the video performed? Then, but yeah, I know, and it is going to get some structure eventually where you where you based ROI based earnings. But let's see, yeah, if it's tricky territory right now.
I know, Ayush, this is coming from a very personal experience.
Yeah, I know, we've done a couple of times, yeah.
we have discussed this a lot of times in the past. So I also wanted to ask, so in one of our earlier session, Sam Thomas, he's from media, he said that influencer-led commerce is on rise and brands are looking forward for a full funnel approach towards them. Even I think Neil also mentioned about a couple of case studies related to it. In my conversation with digital agencies, some talent agencies, I've realized that there are cases where influencer or an influencer campaign has driven performance and sales for a brand, maybe for a fintech, for crypto, for like a tech brand. What are your thoughts on influencer marketing as an avenue for a full funnel? Like, can content creators drive like end-to-end sale campaign?
Yes, I feel this can definitely be done, and that's why I mentioned this earlier as well, that 90% of the brands are not aware that such a funnel can be created. We have created this funnel for 4 to 5 brands from different categories, and now since we have that data and we have that knowledge that okay, this is how it can be done, and apparently it becomes an engine. And this is specifically done on YouTube for D2C brands, because the redirection and the kind of integration brands expect on YouTube is more valuable for them in terms of conversion. So after a scale of time, it's just about how we are fetching out good 100, 150 videos on a monthly basis, and how we are refining that lot by tracking data at the end of the month. Okay, this guy did this. Okay, maybe that was not so good. Let's try this for 1 more month. Otherwise, we'll drop. So that engine also keeps on refining itself on a monthly basis. And some of the brands are doing this since last good 2.5 years and still getting 1.5 times return. And their goal is not branding. Their goal is not reach. They just look at, we spend 1 rupee, are we getting 1.5 or more than 1 or not? And some brands who we work with, they have defined that, okay, our cost per acquisition should be, say, for example, 100 rupees. Do whatever you want to do, take a budget of 50 CR, we don't care. Our cost per acquisition should be around 100 rupees. And the art of creating such funnels for brands, understanding that their objective is just this, though influencer marketing provides a lot of benefits, which these brands might not understand. But yes, specifically on YouTube, such funnels can be created, and there are good case studies already out there, which can attract more brands for creating these funnels.
You'll do share those case studies with us. Like, it will help us build build a vertical or build a case for these.
Yeah,
examples.
I'll do that. I can then expect few clients from your side as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anyone, Ayush, you have something to add?
Yeah, so no, as Neil said, yeah, it's some brands are utilizing it. It's also a matter of how the platforms are designed. Right now, your platforms are so varied and everyone has different strengths. YouTube does give the most exposure to the full funnel, but certain brands have played it well. They've chosen influencers to create multiple things on multiple other platforms and kind of made it their own funnels. Kind of systematic models. Yes, there are platforms which are more designed to content commerce, your Reposo, your Mini TV, who are made for content, social commerce essentially, right? From creating content to direct sales. I think if some brands can play it nice, and obviously D2C brands, fintechs, edtech brands have BFS as a category have created full funnels across influencers on and also on Instagram. utilizing each of the asset stories, IGTVs, very nicely to drive downloads. It can be created, but yeah, again, it over the next few months, it'll get consolidated in a way that there are specific, kind of templates set that people will start using to create that. Once you have proof of the pudding, kind of a thing that this works, I think more brands will jump into this.
Also, one more thing which I forgot to add, YouTube has recently launched ShopTube. I am not sure if it's available to all the creators, but one of the creators we were working with started testing ShopTube, and it's brilliant. Like, if whatever product a creator is promoting, they can tag these products via giving a dedicated space in their description box, and the redirection has become even more easier. And creator also gets paid based on the number of clicks they generate to their website. So you can redirect to Amazon, you can redirect to any particular website, and it is presented in the right manner to the audience rather than just link in description. So that's another thing which is going to catalyze this process.
Yeah, it's the YouTube SimSim buyout, right? That's what's come out with the ShopTube, correct? Yeah. I think that SimSim had a very good business model of content commerce.
Yeah. In fact, I think that the biggest worry that brands and everyone in the space should have is that like for a long time we knew that creators or actors, whoever, they were like popular, but we didn't really know how to monetize that popularity, right? Now you're seeing with the fact that these guys own distribution, someone like a Kylie Jenner went and made a cosmetics company, and it did so well in such a short duration of time. I think that we're finally going to, in the next 10 years, know how to monetize popularity. And a big part of that, I think, will be like direct brand creation, especially in FMCG and fashion and makeup. So in those 3-4 categories, like I think that a lot of people will not only use creators for the entire marketing funnel, but also for product description. What's stopping Nykaa from working with 100 creators and building their own makeup lines? I think that's probably more of the future of where this will go, where you'll see semi-entrepreneurship ventures being created with some of the top creators on how they can actually control the entire funnel of the product, including defining that product.
I think I have one question more when we're discussing that. What are your advice to brands that how should they look at content creators in this festive season? Lakshmi, we'll start with you.
Sure. I mean, they should look at them like how they should look at them at all times, right? Festive or otherwise. If we've kind of discussed a lot of this, but influencers have their own niche, they have their own style, they have their own personality, and that's kind of why they work. So as always, a thumb rule, it's absolutely essential to kind of get the essence of what the influencer or the creator stands for and kind of utilize it to the brand's benefit, instead of kind of force fitting something onto the creator and getting something out of them that in all likelihood may not work. And understanding of how this ecosystem works in itself, right? Like when I mentioned, a lot of them say that content creators are difficult to work with, whereas that's not the case. It's probably because they know their audience better than the brand does. The brand knows its audience, their target, but the influencer or the content creator know their audience, and because they actually get active comments and feedback from the people. They get abuses when they do stuff that are not in sync with what they is expected of them. So I think that's one of the largest things brands should keep in mind, because it's only going to benefit them. And again, I think one more point that was covered is it's important to, sometimes a 20,000 rupees campaign might not get you much, except maybe figure out how the process. So it is important to kind of spend a little, although yeah, it's easier said than done. It depends on the brand's marketing budget. But yeah, that's again another thing. And overt kind of branding is not always in your face branding, having the video start with a logo unit and have a logo unit on the right top corner, ending with a logo unit. These kind of things are only because then it becomes an ad. It's not influencer content anymore. It's not, branded content anymore. So that's another thing. And, also coming to the whole funnel bit, right? Sometimes campaigns are done and they're top of the funnel. They're not bottom of the funnel. I don't always look at an influencer's content and necessarily buy what she's wearing or what she's used on her face. But I see that 2-3 times And the fourth time, in all likelihood, I'm going to go and make that purchase, whether it's food or, personal cosmetics or things like that. But it has been proven over and again, like Neil mentioned, I'm sure there are case studies wherein we know that with a certain frequency and a certain reach, like your typical TV kind of campaigns, there is a sale that happens. So it's not always top of the funnel, but that doesn't mean you should discard it as a means to sales, because it 100% leads to sale. It's just not always immediate. It's probably second or third or fourth time or whatever the frequency is, depends on product, nature of the influencer, so on and so forth. So an understanding of the ecosystem and how it works is super important before kind of getting into it and even burning your fingers. Because if you don't, you'll just cause a lot of heartache and maybe waste people's time and money and yours as well, right, in the process. So I think that's, what brands should look out for Festive, or otherwise Festive all the more because they're going to be spending more money.
I think you've summarized the entire session well. I also wanted, while we're discussing on advice on how brands can be prepared, I also wanted to understand and to know what are the other categories that brands can explore this season. Like I know, like the fashion, decor, lifestyle brands, like lifestyle creators, they are the first choice for any campaign when it comes to festive centric. But very recently, I understood that a gaming creator can also be a good match for a festive campaign or something like that. So what are the categories that are unexplored and you think they can be picked up?
I think it's gaming because if I look at massy categories, which brands can immediately tap on, it's definitely gaming. It's quite big, and the kind of variety a brand can get from tier 1 to tier 2 to regional, like gaming has lots of options. So for me, it's gaming.
I think the second category, and of course, it's quite the no-brainer, is the finance category, right? Because what's happening today is that people are becoming more and more conscious of where they want to spend their money, and therefore they want a lot of returns from their money. They want a lot more advice as to where they should put their money. Even finance influencers today are talking about sometimes the best offers on different brands as well. Also, should you spend on your credit card? Should you spend here? Should you spend, NFTs, Bitcoin, put your money in crypto? So I think finance is another very big upcoming category. And I think that's probably because it comes from the place of expertise, right? So there the influence is actually quite real, like quite influential, because you're believing them, you're listening to them because you think that they know more than you. In most other categories, what happens is you feel that, they're not actually, they don't even know what they're saying, or they're just being asked to say this. But in finance, I feel like the authenticity currently is still, very well maintained. And especially with like fintech brands coming up and, brands like Cred spending on the IPL, I think it's one of the categories that has really grown in the last 6 months.
No, I think Arushi is like spot on, but I just want to extend that a little bit more to just like expertise to your niche. So in the sense where if your tech reviewers etc. are like great if you're a tech product, and because again repeated amount of advice and positioning makes it such that when they recommend using your product, it essentially becomes gospel. But similarly, like if you're a baby care brand, like go to mommy influencers. I mean, pick the right category from that sense. Obviously, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know why comedy is not mentioned on this, but it's still probably the most powerful set of creators. They just take over, man. Like I mean, from all of the other creators, I mean, if there's someone who can generate like real mass, it's still the comedy creators. I think they're usually just undersold a little bit because you think of 4 or 5 of them and then the rest you kind of ignore, but they all do numbers that are unreal organically.
Yeah, I think the entertainment comedy as a sector cuts across all verticals of the industry, right? They can do any product. It's but as when I said, individual categories, young bomb as a category for FMCG brands during festive seasons, or gaming as a category and tech as a category for tech products, specific categories, and using the specific category niches. Because everything is selling, right? Like literally people are buying things across. People are buying mutual funds in festive season. Some people are saving and buying mutual funds, right? So everything is selling. Category specific authenticity is very important. But yeah, entertainment comedy is the one that cuts across all pies. Like literally everyone wants to do their top of the funnel reach through entertainment comedy at least.
Yeah, and to kind of add to that, I think more than the second largest numbers, obviously, I think humor, fashion, all of gaming, again, tech. These are probably the largest, but the funny part is this festive, let's say most of our briefs do not have fashion and lifestyle. They could be fashion and lifestyle brands, but they don't necessarily, like a personal care product wants gamers. They want, people who are, another popular category is sex education and adult education kind of thing. It's really kind of caught on. There's educational influencers who've caught on, and they actually kind of convert to sales. A lot of these people, the brands are surprised after a campaign, that this kind of a video got them a lot of sales. So even if it is personal care products or consumer durables, they don't want the typical lifestyle and fashion kind of people. They want a diverse mix. They might take one or two, as part of the mix, but they're really happy to, because all of us consume all of these things, right? All of us want mutual funds, or should be buying mutual funds, or should be investing. So they want people from various, genres to kind of do these campaigns. They want a healthy mix, and we also propose a kind of healthy mix of a diverse, set of genres to all of these. So it's actually interesting to note that these are actually moving away from your conventional kind of categories, and brands and agencies, all of us are kind of willing to explore a lot more categories. And there are like an exponential number of categories that have kind of grown in the last year or so, and super niche, each of them.
Great. I just want to wrap up this session and ask each one of you if you have anything to add to how content creators can prepare themselves for the festive season, like how they can be well prepared for things, like maybe in terms of content they create, maybe in some approach the banks they keep ready for, in general they are ready.
I think they need to cancel all their vacation plans, so that if we have a tight deadline and we have to do, create good amount of content, at least last thing we hear is that I won't be available for the next couple of days or 3 days, because obviously the kind of opportunities they will be getting during this time will be much higher. And apart from that, I think they know how to shoot their content. They know they are already the best in that. So nothing on top of that, just their schedules. Yeah.
Go on, Arishi, go on.
No, sorry. I was just going to say they should practice their dance moves, because I think something that's really upcoming across all the brands is like all the dance and the singing challenges. But on a more serious note, I think my personal advice to them would be go local, like, believe in the authenticity and the regionality of where you come from. Like, don't try and celebrate Diwali like how it's supposed to be celebrated, but probably, how is it actually celebrated in your region, in your house, in your, family, and don't be ashamed of speaking in your regional language, right? I think that's one of the things that, especially in festivals, like, the Happy Diwali itself can be said in so many different ways, and I'm sometimes most excited to see the, unique stories that come out of how Diwali is celebrated in different parts of the country, right? So I think go as local, close to home as you can, and of course, practice your dance moves.
As Neil said, they should take this as an opportunity to create as much content as possible, right? They're literally what they're doing this festive season, create as much as possible, because inevitably when you do a lot of branded, there will be a certain trade-off that you do in terms of your reach and everything. You have to create a lot more of your organic and your back behind the scenes life. Two things that we do as a management agency is very simple. We block calendars much in advance, one. And second, we look at ticket size rather than volume. So we won't do a lot more campaigns. We'll do larger campaigns with the same brands. That's a better way, because first it remains authentic to the brands that you're working and servicing them, because it's the same sale, right? Amazon, Flipkart, they have the same sale. It's the same offers, right? How do you one day he's doing this, one day he's doing that. So ticket size is better. So we tell brands, buy it up. We only have 6-7 assets in a month or creator can create for branded without it looking that he's just or he or she is just doing this. Bigger ticket size and a long-term calendar blocking. That's what we focus on essentially.
No, same. I think we've started doing annual deals with brands. Just helps us plan the whole thing better. But for creators, most of them we tell them in September that dude, take your downtime. Start writing stuff, in the middle of Diwali. If you have a creator's blog or a writer's blog, doesn't help. So we tell them to have enough of some level of inventory on thoughts on what they'd want to create. At the end of the day, one of the primary reasons why, the festive season is stressful is because you also have to, manage the creator and get them to deliver everything on time. That's probably that, and the approvals are what you spend most of your time on. Nobody really negotiates really. Like Diwali is and Festive is a great time for negotiations, but the rest of it is all topsy turvy. So.
Yeah, I think my advice would be to get them to plan, right? Like all of them here said. Also, it's a great time to make the most of and completely capitalize on how the markets are. So apart from planning, they should totally kind of be as professional as possible. Plan their schedules, get everything in order. I would also think it's a good idea for all of them to kind of invest or get some kind of partners to help them with the production, because the more and more influencer content right now that is expected or being generated is created like mini content pieces, right? So it's nice if the quality is a little better than a selfie video shot on a phone or whatever. So plan for a lot of these kind of operational nuances so that they can also churn out a little faster. Maybe get a bunch of writers also to kind of help you out if that's a need, or get agencies to kind of help you out with that. So I think plan your backend so that you can do good stuff, not lose your what you stand for or your quality, and at the same time kind of capitalize on it. Everybody knows it's busy, so plan for it a little in advance. Maybe right now it's still not too late, so that you can make the most of it.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for sharing insights. I'm pretty sure a lot of people had questions and we couldn't take them, but I'm pretty sure the conversation we had would have helped them. I just hope that the pie we were talking about, just the pie itself grows and our share grows with it, and we all get a chance to eat a bit of it in our capacity. But thank you so much. Have a great evening and have a great festive season. Like both work.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Kathy, you can take over.
Thank you, Mrinal. Thank you for moderating that wonderful session. And thank you to all our speakers for being here, for sharing those nuggets of insights. As we can see on the chat right here, people have enjoyed it and taken a great takeaways. So yes, it was a fun and insightful session. Before we move on to the next session, once again, I would like to thank all our viewers. Keep those tweets coming. You have helped us make these sessions even more interactive. Once again, let me just remind all of you, the hashtag is Festive Marketing Week. And if you're talking about it, don't forget to tag us so we can be part of the conversation as well. And now we move on to our next session, a workshop by Prashant Kohli, Vice President Strategy, Glitch, and Payal Vaidya, Executive Vice President, Experience Design at VMLY&R India. A very warm welcome to both of you. Request you to please switch on your cameras. And please unmute yourself as well. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. So I'm going to leave the screen because we all are excited for this workshop. Over to both of you.
Super, thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Hi, everyone. Kathy, just to check, does Aarti have sharing rights?
Let me just quickly check.
Yeah, I just saw the message. She does. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Super. So, Payal, why don't we start by just introducing ourselves and then we can jump into the session. Over to you.
Go ahead. Okay, so I think Kathy just introduced us. My name is Payal. I lead the CX division at VMLY&R. I work as an experience designer. I do many things along with that. I am a design thinker, a human-centered designer. We'll decode some of these words today as we go through our presentation. But really what we kind of do here is we create experiences, brands, products, services with a human-centered approach, and we'll talk more about it. I'll let Prashant introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. I'm Prashant. I lead everything strategy at The Glitch, which is a part of the VMLY&R group. We've been famous/infamous in the past for creating some wonderful work for some great clients that we've had an opportunity to work for. And a lot of work that you will see today, the point of view especially that we want to share from is rooted in human-centered design, as Payal said, and that's really a central framework for us to create what we call connected brands. And with that, and we also have Aarti, who's supporting us in managing the session and helping with everything. So Aarti, do you want to say hi? No, she just shared the screen.
Yeah, so we'll get going. So first, it's going to be an interactive session. Aarti, if you can just keep it to the full screen, we are seeing the next slide as well. Just give us a minute.
I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to share this not in presenter mode because it doesn't want to go through.
In the meantime, guys, feel free to, this is going to be a workshop kind of a thing. So we'll have some fun. We'll get our hands dirty playing with a few exercises, which is really simple but fun to get your creative juices flowing a little bit of how you think of Festive. So feel free to take a pen, paper out. We'll give you some prompts, think through them. And please keep sharing questions, comments, etc. In the chat. We'll track them and try and answer.
You can also introduce yourselves to each other in the meanwhile in the chat if you just want to put your name, where you're from, what do you expect out of today's session. That would also be great. So we'll get going. And Aarti, if you can move to the next slide. Okay. So if you already have a piece of paper, if not, maybe you can take it out. And let's take a minute or two to write down every festive cliche that comes to your mind. Like, what do you think of when you think of festivals? What comes to your mind? And I'll probably just ramble along in a minute. But just like take 2 minutes and then we'll get started. If you don't want to use your sheet of paper, you can also type in the chat what you think about, what cliches come to your mind. Oops, what happened?
No, we're just switching. I'm trying to share because Aarti's screen is not working properly. Can you see it, Payal?
Yes, I can see your screen.
I'm going to try and go to the
full screen.
See if that works. Let me know.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the full screen.
Awesome.
Thanks, Prashant.
No worries.
Yeah. So yes, type away or write on your sheet of paper. Festive cliches that come to my mind are, offer, patakas, diyas, rangoli. What else do you see? Like, some typical colors. People wearing lots of jewelry, maybe even like, gold coins that people give away, silver, gold coins. I'm also seeing some interesting answers coming here. Ritual cleaning, sweets, forceful conversations with relatives. That's a good one. Yes. Diyas, firecrackers. Okay. So you've got the hang of it. That's great. We'll move on from here. Prashant, if we can go to the next one. So like we kind of see, all these cliches also reflect on all the content that comes out during the festive season. All the ads that we see, in every format, like from each and every brand. I wouldn't say each and every, but most of the brands kind of, start looking and feeling the same. You see the same elements, probably everyone kind of borrows from the same Shutterstock images. And, it's like this Diwali, and here's a shopping festival, and here are some diyas. So you don't really, when you look at all of this together, you can't even differentiate the brands. You can't tell one from the other. And that really becomes a big problem. Like, while everyone has the right intention, but if it doesn't kind of, meet your goals and what you're trying to do, it just doesn't, it's just like, so many millions of like rupees kind of wasted, right? So that's what we are trying to do here today. Prashant, if we can go next. Yeah, Abhishek, it's almost the same color palette, you're right. So what we do at our company is we work, like I was saying, we work with a human-centered design approach to building brands, experiences, products, services. What that really does is we put the customers at the center of everything that we do. And we kind of first really create empathy for them. Like it's really important to understand their feelings, their thoughts, their motivations. Everyone has like, a lot of unmet needs. So if we kind of, break things down and look at that, it gives us richer insights. It gives us richer, problems to kind of work with. So that's essentially what our approach, and we'll kind of, give you a peek into that today. We'll get you to work with us a little bit on, some of the things here. So what we'll do here today is we'll kind of, just spend some time to reframe some problems. And I'll talk a little bit about why reframing is important. First, when we start any project that comes to us, we have a problem statement, or we broadly know, this is the ask from the client, or this is what you're trying to do to sell, say, X number of chocolates is what you want to sell this season, or you want to kind of, promote some other products, you have offers. So the approach is very like business centric. So what reframing really does is it helps us look at things in different ways. Prashant, if we can move to the next slide. So here's an example for what reframing can do. So if you look at the top, the problem framing here is the elevator is too slow. And the solution that you would find from that problem is that, how can we make the elevator faster, right? Can we install a new lift? Can we like upgrade the motor? Can we like, make the mechanism or algorithm go faster? So we can kind of, find, just make it go fast. So it's like slow and the solution is fast. But now when we reframe the problem, we actually try and understand what is the problem that the person, the human being who's waiting for the elevator really facing. So they, find that the wait is annoying, and therefore they feel that the elevator is slow. The elevator is actually going at the same speed, but then if you just reframe the problem, the solution that you would find with that would be very, very different. So interestingly, now you'd understand why there are mirrors in the elevators, right? Like, because they are trying to make the wait feel shorter. There's music. There's also now an additional hand sanitizer that we kind of see outside the elevators a lot of times. So when you rather like, are able to reframe the problem with a human lens, you can find different kinds of solution spaces. So that's what we'll kind of do today. Prashant, if we can move on. So it really like, humanizes the problem for us. Like when we kind of understand how this customer who we are trying to, create a product for, or, create some marketing communication for, if we try and understand them as a person, and we understand their motives, their desires, their thoughts, feelings, likes, dislikes, we kind of really look at things from their perspective, really like step into their shoes so that we can think of things from their perspective. So that's the first one. And then we look at the same problem with like, different perspectives. And how can you do that? Like if you look at a crow will look like a crow to you. But if you look at a crow from probably a different side, maybe you will see the branch that the crow is on. Maybe you will see, that there is another bird next to it. Maybe you will see the leaves more, and maybe the crow will start to look like something else over here. Another very, very important point is when we start anything, there are so many assumptions, so many biases that are baked into our thinking. So this is the time when you question all the assumptions, all the cliches that you had in the first place in your mind. So question all of those assumptions when you start reframing. Again, deep dive into how people think, how people feel, and then we come to kind of creating or framing a point of view, and that's the exercise we'll do in a short bit. Over to you, Prashant.
Thanks, Payal. I want to just address the question that's popped up on the side. Well, so we didn't think of a session from that point of view, but there's merit in just answering the communication trends. I'll try and root it in what Payal has explained to be a human-first approach of thinking about problems. A lot of trends that we are seeing is about, what we call nudges, which is to say you really start to understand where people are, where are they shopping, where are they consuming content, and start giving them slight nudges there instead of trying to hard sell. We see that as a big comms trend that's going to be, that's already been going on, I think, since the time, especially since after the pandemic when everything moved digital. But you'll see that kind of amplified, I feel, in 2021. And all the ways your nudges are delivered will then start to become important, right? Whether that's influencer marketing, whether that's, purpose-driven sort of messaging, more emotional nudges and all of that. I think those kind of things will start to become important. And the last thing is, I think, community-driven messaging, because if anything that pandemic has taught us is about the importance of the community of people who live around us, whether geographically or digitally. So I think that in a sense will also be very important, considering Festive is all about coming together and all of that. So I hope that gives you some direction to that answer. But I'll jump into a couple of case studies to kind of make you see how different brands, global as well as Indian, have sort of thought of festive marketing very, very differently. So this is a brand called Boots, a huge convenience store, supermarket. I mean, they keep everything. It's like the Amazon, but in real life in UK. And this was a piece that they built out for Christmas. In fact, we built out this piece for them, our global teams, on Christmas last year, where we thought of gifting very, very differently. And why did we think of gifting very differently is because number one, we've noticed that people were spending lesser on gifts. They were being thrifty about what they want to spend. There was also this whole idea of sameness setting into gifting, right? That you buy the same stock 4 or 5 things for everybody and you go and give it to them. With Boots, we kind of reimagined that thing and said, the way you gift to somebody depends a lot on what you think about that person and what you tend to know about that person. So it could be your father, but doesn't mean you need to give him a stock watch or you need to give him a pair of shoes or a country club membership. Your father could also be a fan of Chennai Super Kings. I'm talking India context. So is it possible to gift him, something that kind of speaks to that? And that's how we rethought of gifting and created this idea called boutique. Now, boutique are these endless shopping windows. They were executed in all forms: digital, social, virtual, real, as well as user generated, which basically allowed you to curate your own endless ideas of gifting for people you wanted to give them to. So we started this as a branded activity, but then this kind of moved into people creating their own boutiques. So let me quickly show you a case study instead of talking too much about it. Here it is.
It's not Santa's workshop that makes Christmas gifts anymore. It's some online warehouse. Year after year, sales on the high street have been declining. And this year, people had less money to spend than ever. Boots is one of the UK's largest retail chains. So we needed to do Christmas a little differently. How? We made giving the perfect gift easier than ever. By making a shop for every single type of person. And we called them boutiques. We made a boutique for the person who likes working out almost as much as they like talking about it. For the on-fleek beauty queen, whatever that means. For the person who's 100% vegan when you're 100% clueless. The boutiques were everywhere. We even made a boutique for the Prime Minister. And we did so much more than make a big shiny TV ad. Though we did make one of those too. The boutiques made headlines. And it was all shoppable, obviously. We built real-life boutiques too. Like a boutique for the moody teenager. A boutique for the people lying awake dreaming of sleep. And a boutique for the people you sleep with. Yep, we opened a sex shop for Christmas. Plus, our customers could build their own boutiques, creating millions more. Like What to Buy Mike, the greatest shag in Liverpool. Or Lily, who wanted anything as long as it was Fenty. So we didn't make our customers cry this Christmas. We made their lives a lot easier instead. All thanks to one simple idea.
Yep. So I think the case study explains the entire point quite nicely. But really, if I had to tie it back to what Payal was saying earlier about reframing, right? We reframe from the problem that the brand had, that people are not buying enough gifts, people are not spending enough on this festive season. We looked at why people are not doing it, and we looked at it from a human perspective to say, you know what, people are just bored of giving the same old things. So it's not that they don't want to spend, it's just that they run out of ideas. They've run out of imagination to kind of give those gifts. And that's how we landed at this solution, which is very different from saying, hey, we'll put up everything on sale and let's hope people will buy it. So that's the first piece. And of course, somebody mentioned personalization. That's really the key in today's world anyway. I'm sure you guys must have seen this piece. This is what Cadbury's did last year, post we were out of the wave of pandemic. And I'm not going to play this because I'm sure everybody's seen it. If you haven't, just put it on the chat and I can play it. But really this commercial, and this was a film which was very smartly done using digital really, really well, where depending on where you were viewing this, the names of the stores from where you could buy things for your loved ones kept customizing. So the ad was not just talking about Cadbury's and celebration via Cadbury's, but they made it a larger conversation about, hey, there are a million kinds of gifts you can give them. And here are a bunch of shops near you where you could go and buy them. So, it kind of played very well on that community angle that I was talking a lot about earlier. And if you think about the reframe, again, this is about how does Cadbury get people to, keep Cadbury's as a first for and center brand. Yes, Niti, it was about going local, which is what the community aspect in it is. How do you get more people to buy Cadbury's during festivals? I mean, Cadbury's has great packs, but how do you really connect people with those who, with their communities, with their local businesses? Because that's the context of the last year. That was really relevant last year. I'm hoping nobody copies this idea because it's done and it's been done really, really well. But that was a beautiful reframe that they did. That festival is all about, for people, it's about coming together. And this time people have realized that they want to connect with more people, their local businesses, people around their houses in the neighborhoods who've been impacted by pandemic as well. So again, a lovely example of how you could think about reframing. I'm going to skip this because I'm assuming almost everyone has seen this, and I'll go to the next example, which I will first play, and then we'll talk about how they thought differently about festival.
If I were Dad, what would I want for Christmas? Huh? What the? Wait, I'm Dad? Hey.
Morning, Dave.
Oh, hi,
Bye, Dave.
Hey, Dave. See you next week. Hey, puppy. Ugh, Dad sure spends a lot of time on his feet.
Thank you, baby girl. They're perfect.
Lovely heartwarming piece of storytelling from Macy's. What I love about this piece is that it literally tells you to step into the person you're gifting shoes, which is the whole idea of empathy and reframing, that see the world from their eyes, from their frame of reference, and then think about how can you solve a problem for them. And literally the ad is, this ad is like an execution of empathy mapping, I think. But it's a lovely way of looking at a holiday gifting. I was giving an example of, fathers earlier. Could you just give them things that are novelty and known to be given? But would you ever think of gifting your father socks because you realize that he has to walk a lot, or whatever the case may be? So it's a very nice way of looking at human relationships very differently and being able to connect during festive. And this, again, we feel strongly to your earlier point, that's going to be a big trend this year again, which is going to be a lot about how do we connect with people around us emotionally. And that's going to drive a lot of campaigns and activations as well. So with that, I think these are the examples that we have. And now, in light of all of these examples that you've seen, you've already, Payal got you to write down some cliches you thought about festivals. Now I want you to take a minute and I want you to basically write down, flip the paper, let the cliches be there. On the other side, write down really things that are very, very visceral about festivals. So what does it look like? What does it taste like? What does the festival season smell like? Does Diwali in your neighborhood have a peculiar smell? Does your home smell different when there are candles around? So take 2 or 3 minutes. There's no right or wrong answer. Just go for it. Write down whatever comes to your mind. Close your eyes for a minute. Go into that day when you're celebrating with your friends or your family. Imagine what's happening there. So get started now, and I'll try and help you with some cues as we go along. Think about people you're going to meet. Think about how you're going to greet them. Have you not hugged them in a long time? What does it make you feel like when you meet them after such a long time? Think about things you do with them. Do you and your family get together to light up candles? What's the kind of smell that comes when you light up those candles? Do you get overloaded on sweets? Do you always like sweets during Diwali, or do you get overburdened by them? Do you feel like losing weight immediately after the festival season? Does a guilt come in somewhere? Do you plan a vacation? Or do you finally take that vacation you've been planning and pushing for a very long time? And what does Diwali or holidays at a destination feel like? What are the moments that make you really happy? Who are the people who make you really happy? What is the food that makes you really happy? What really annoys you? Are there relatives you don't like seeing? Does your house get overcrowded? All right. With that, Payal, back to you to take this forward.
Thanks, Prashant. I see a lot of things people have typed in the chat, which is very cool. So, diyas, street shopping, paneer, family, warmth.
I love paneer. You never think about paneer in Festive.
Correct.
I love
Very
that.
different.
It's such an interesting thing to think about with Festive.
Yeah. Clicking pictures with fam. Oh, more paneer. People do love paneer, yeah. And there's bundi ke laddu. Smells like marigold. Nice. So keep all of these thoughts. I'm just going to read one more. The season feels like the Petri chore feel. It looks like visiting memory lane of childhood. Tasting like best kaju katli and rangoli colors are best ingredients. Okay.
You have a film right there.
Yeah.
Son papdi from office. Don't we all get that? And pass it around to neighbors.
That's so true. I've never had that son papdi from office. So yeah, I mean, you have a lot of thought starters. So these are great for our reframe. So let's revisit everything that you've written. You can even borrow things from what you see in the chat, what others have written. It's always good to kind of, collaborate, get inspirations from others as well. So now what we'll do is think of if any of these words or, a combination of things inspire something new. And which is, there is some little bit of cliche, but it's okay. I mean, we can work with it. And like, if it inspires anything new, we'll kind of start forming a new thought in the form of an intent statement. Prashant, if we can move forward. So we have a format here for you. You can take a screenshot of it if you want to, or you can just like scribble it, on your paper, or you can type in chat, completely your choice. But this is how it works. So first we look at the left-hand side of this framework, which reads, I intend to dash, and you have to fill the dashes here. I intend to dash the dash with a superlative. And then you write the topic or activity. For here you'll write people who you are creating this for and what's the context. So framing an intent is really, similar to kind of defining your goals, your objectives, but it has a lot of like, aspiration. So really keep it very, very simple. Let's not like, overthink it. We tend to do that a lot. I do that a lot. So let's keep it simple. We'll share some quick examples with you to get you going. So here, this one reads like, I intend to spark the joyous moments on the festive days for older adults who have kids staying abroad and are celebrating alone. So here's a intent statement. And, you could, so just sharing like some examples to kind of, spark some thoughts in your mind, and also how you could kind of address it. There's another one that we have here, which reads like, I intend to inspire the most memorable conversations for people who dislike having small talk. And this someone had mentioned earlier in the chat. We'll go to this a little later. Once you write your intent statement, we can even like start visualizing how that would come alive, and your intent statement, should inspire, ideas. And then that's when you know that this is a good approach. And it's a good idea to kind of write it like a zillion times, literally, like, if you have a problem statement, just like reframe it and write it in like many different ways. It's really, really helpful. So let's take about 3-4 minutes to write a few intent statements. Again, you can take a screenshot of this, write it on a sheet of paper, or use the chat to write it.
feel free to write about any set of people or for your dogs. I see somebody's written dogs who you don't like the fact that your dogs get scared. So write about your dog.
Yeah.
What do you intend to do for your pet?
Also be specific about who these people are. I mean, it'll be nice, like if you have, you're writing for, if your target audience is dogs, like it's great to put that down. If you have a specific person, if it's even your neighbor or your friend, basically what you're doing here is you're creating a persona in your mind, and you're visualizing that this is the person I want to kind of, solve this problem for. And that is really, really helpful. Do we have any brave souls typing in the chat?
I want to give it a crack too.
Go ahead. And if it's for festivals, let's like try to even like think of something. Like, I think for me, I mean, when people say like, or batao, I'm like, okay, this is done. This conversation is over. So really like how can we create something interesting for maybe families? It could be, a different set of cards. People play cards. So it could be some different cards that kind of uncover some meaningful conversations. Okay, we have one here. Brinda has written, I intend to cut down the use and bursting of firecrackers for the animals around who get scared during the festivity, which is more about happiness and spending time with the loved ones. We can aim more about using lights and diyas, being together for each other, communicating with the loved ones than just bursting loud crackers. So, Vrinda, this is nice. I really like how you framed the first part. So that kind of, talks about the problem. Your second part is actually leaning towards a solution. So I would actually use that maybe when we start visualizing the success, and how would you kind of visualize your solution then? So that would be good. We have one more here. I intend to make best gulab jamuns for my grandmother and visit Jaipur, taking them for her. That's very sweet. I intend to celebrate the joyous moments for family members who have stayed at different places, getting together on Diwali. Nice.
Very powerful. I'm happy to share mine also while others.
Go ahead.
Explain. So I have a very short one. I intend to surprise the people whose lives are otherwise mundane.
Nice. And who are these people? Like, do you have a defined target audience?
No, I didn't think through that. I should have, but mostly people who are around us, but they have very monotonous life in terms of, our house helps, our drivers, who just, go through their days.
Yeah. Who don't really get to celebrate Diwali, right? Because they are still helping us. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a better context, actually.
There are a few more. I'll read them. I intend to make the festive celebration eco-friendly for my niece. to be able to live in healthier environment in future. That's a great one. It's talking about, you know, saving the environment. It's very interesting and very specific, but also it gives you room to kind of explore because it's broad enough, but not, and also specific at the same time. Saurabh says, I intend to inspire or make people make people take one step toward normalcy or normal life for people who lost jobs, loved ones, and suffered from illness. That's a very powerful thought. So that's
the one thing I wanna just share is, guys, when you write the intent statement, try and not give the answer to the problem. Just try. I know it's hard, and when you start doing this, the temptation is to write down what you want to do. But if you think about this intent statement, it is focused on identifying who are the people. What do you want to do for them emotionally? How do you want to change their context? So, for example, I really like what Saurabh has written. People who've lost jobs, loved ones, and suffered from illness. So the context is very clear. And then what he wants to do is take them one step towards normalcy. So it doesn't call out a specific solution, but really calls out the intention that's there. So try and stay away from the solution at this stage. But Pile, back to you.
Thanks, Prashant, for adding that. Let's try and visualize, you know, how like some solutions, and we can do like some really bad sketches. What I thought we could put here, Prashant, if you can just click the animation will come here. Thanks. So since my intent statement was, you know, I intend to inspire the most meaningful conversations for people who dislike having small talk. I thought I could visualize success like this, which is a warrior princess. So maybe a theme party for like family members to dress up as they would want, because generally people don't do that during Diwali. Like everyone wears the same kind of clothes, does the same kind of thing. So can we like introduce a little bit of fun craziness into that? So what would success for your idea look like? And you can like just think of maybe type solutions here or do some quick sketches. There's another one. I intend to ease the most difficult job for mothers who spend the festival inside a kitchen. Yeah, that's a superb one, because I mean, all the mothers kind of really spend time in the kitchen making things so that everyone else can enjoy. So it'll be awesome to kind of, you know, do something special for them. So Smriti, what would like success look like for you? What would your solution be? Any thoughts, ideas on your intent statements? Are your intent statements kind of inspiring some ideas that are different from the cliches that you would have thought of before? If not, that's okay. And I mean, you can try writing some more intent statements. So let us know. I wish we could hear you, but it would be great to kind of see some answers in the chat. Kathy, is it possible to kind of, hear some people talk? Would that be a possibility? If they want to share?
Unfortunately, not. The chat and Q&A options are open for them to interact.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Hi, Payal. If you want, you can give permission to a couple of people to just join as an with a limited access.
Okay. If that would be great. So if anyone wants to kind of share, their ideas or thoughts about, reframing the intent statement, if you can raise your hand, maybe we can, kind of give you access to join us here. Anyone wanting to share ideas? Or should we move on?
Payal, I think, do you want to start summing it up? Because I think it'll be difficult for people to share back without having to be able to talk.
Yeah, sounds good. So really what we kind of, touched upon today is how we can create different ideas, like innovative ideas that others probably aren't thinking about in a way that is really coming from a human-centered approach, which is coming from, understanding who you are solving the problem for first, and then reframing it like multiple times to look at different perspectives, to look at it from different ways, questioning your assumptions, and also not being afraid to really do something that is scary. Probably you'll think everyone is like everyone is kind of talking about wishing people showing like diyas, and they're doing like the same thing, and we tend to follow that a lot of times. So this exercise will actually really help you to solve for problems in a very different way. So really, like in a very simple words, like when we kind of empathize with our customers, we reframe the problems that we are trying to solve for. We are able to come up with different solutions that no one kind of thinks about. So yeah, Prashant, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, just a little bit. I think as you guys work on the briefs of Festive, which must be on your table or coming in, a good way to think about this, framework that Payal has shared with you is for becomes your customer. So right now you're thinking your pets, you're thinking your parents, you're thinking your friends. So that for a brand will become obviously customers. And then the context will become what is the problem you're trying to solve for them, or what is their big pain point. While especially in ambit of the festive season, as they meet their friends and family, are people going to be scared about their safety, or are they actually going to be overdoing meeting when they go? So things like that, and a good way to kind of identify some of those things is just go talk to them. There's no better way to empathize with people than actually having a conversation, listening to what their plans are, asking them to share, hey, what are you going to do on that day? So just do those things a little bit, push a little bit on how you think about the customers of the brand that you're going to be answering these briefs for could be your own brands. And it should give you some interesting reframes and ideas. Hope we see some really cool work coming out of this group during Diwali.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prashant and Payal, for that wonderful presentation. I'm sorry, were you going to be presenting a little more? I can wait.
There's just like this one little takeaway, but
yes,
that people can also read. But basically now you have your ideas and you can kind of take it forward, think about, like Prashant has already captured it, but like how would you use this intent reframe or method framework to kind of help you come up with different ideas, and then how would you narrate the story? Would it really appeal to your customers? And then what would you do with it? So just that, and just some more thinking pieces for you. Really appreciate that you all, sticked around. Most of you kind of stayed around. So thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prashant and Payal. That was really an immersive workshop. And you can see that the love is pouring in the chat box for both of you. Thank you for doing this at the Festive Marketing Week for Social Samosa and its viewers all across the board. Thank you once again for your time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
With that, we would like to share a small update for all of you. Due to time constraints, we have had to reschedule the session by Harshal Karya, founder Shebang, and Nikita Anil, Associate Vice President Shebang's session, which was on how Xiaomi aced Diwali with MI. We will be announcing the new timings of this session, so stay tuned with us. With this, we conclude the first season of Social Samosa's Festive Marketing Week. Here's a big shout out to all our speakers. The insights we learned in these 3 days helped us bring down many challenges that plagued the festive marketing season. I would also like to take this opportunity and thank our gifting partners, Tetley Green Tea, The Man Company, White Light Foods, and the Sassy Teaspoon. And last but not the least, thank you, our viewers. You all helped us make Festive Marketing Week interactive, fun, and inspiring. If you want to catch up on any of our sessions, you can log on to www.socialsamosa.com and read through the articles encapsulating the sessions in much detail. With this, on behalf of Team Social Samosa, I am Khyati Kawa, your host, signing off. Here's wishing all of you a very happy, bright, and successful festive season. See you again.